Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is brought to you by, well, you. If you want to learn how to support the show, go to patreon.com/laststandmedia. Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and welcome to episode 138 of Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast. Today, I am joined by Gene, the dance machine. Gene Park, how are you, my friend? Welcome to Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast.
Happy to be here in the realm of the Dukes. I think we were talking about planning to be here soon.
Yes,
obviously for
soon.
A discussion about a big game that I guess we'll try not to talk about later on. But
gonna be tough.
Yeah, I'm here early. I'm happy to be here. I told Colin earlier when I first met Colin that my real gateway into, or my only familiarity with Last Stand Media was Chris Raygun and his content and his comedy content and everything like that. But that was before I knew that you were involved. I did not know that Mr. Matty Plays was an LSM person, and kind of there at the beginning. So I was like, wait, I've actually been watching Matty longer than Chris, and like I've been watching Matty's content deeper than Chris because
Go on, Gene. How long? I didn't know this.
Yeah, well, it was around the Fallout 4 era, right? So
thank you.
Yeah, so pretty much, I guess, at the beginning of your YouTube journey, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this since I was in 8th grade. So over half my life has been spent recording videos about video games for the internet. But yeah, that was like really when I first started to gain some type of traction, right? But it's awesome that you.
How old were you when you did the Fallout 4 review?
I was 18. Yeah,
man. See, so that's a creepy thing because, like, I told Chris, I said I've been watching Chris's content for like 8 years, and and then I found out how old he is. So like, I'm basically like a guy that's been like, yes, I've been watching Chris and Matty since they were 18 years
Grow
old.
up before your very eyes.
Yeah,
I'm honored nonetheless. But for those who are wondering what's going on with COG, I'll give you the 411 on it because this is a last minute change. We were going to have Gene on next week. That was part of the plan because there's those of you who may or may not know, next week, August 31st, 12 p.m. Eastern time, the embargo lifts for Starfield reviews, previews, impressions, whatever you want to call them. The Dukes will be there and Gene will be joining us. We planned it right away when we all got the codes. We're like, let's get together because this game's so vast. I don't think two people can cover enough ground, especially when COG's out of commission right now. So what's going on is he apparently is having some form of like pneumonia is what I say apparently because he's not 100% sure at the time of recording this. He reached out. He was like, it's not like COG to kind of bail on any type of episodes ever. He's showed up with COVID and not said a word, which I just didn't know. If I did know, I'd be like, don't show up, go take some time off. But COG is thinking he has pneumonia because he's been having trouble breathing a little bit and having some issues overall. So he's telling me like, yeah, I might miss the episode. Now, before he starts bringing up pneumonia, he's like, I can hang in, like we can figure this out. And so I reached out to Gene. I'm like, yo, like COG.
I'll be right back. I hear my cat.
No problem. Take care of your kitty. I'll continue the story time. And while I'm reaching out to Gene, COG's like, yo, all right, sounds good. I'm gonna go to the ER now. And I was like, this is, ladies and gentlemen, this is the co-host I deal with. This man was ready to show up for Duke and neglect going to treat himself when it was so serious he had to go to the ER. That's it. That's the type of co-host we got. So just keep all that in mind. But the hilarious story is this. We'll start off with a little bit of a write-in here. It comes from Gary. What's up, Dukes? Been listening to the podcast in the gym a lot, and it always feels funny when I can't help but start laughing in the middle of some sets. I'm sure it's probably pretty unsettling to see the guy to your left just start mad chuckling out of nowhere in the middle of making some weird workout face, like the cheesy pasta combo or COG's mortal thoughts in regards to missing out on Starfield. Always love to jump in, even though I don't finish every episode. By far my favorite podcast, and I was a frequent listener of Ham Radio Podcast. Time has definitely flown by. Thank you. Have a Mr. Coggy Plays and Lord Matt Nito kind of day. Now, the reason I bring this right up in, Gene, and I wanted to tell you this story here on air because I thought you'd get a kick out of it, is so right. Like Cog's already trying to be a soldier. He's like, yeah, like I'll show up, even though he had to go to the ER, right? And so this man, in the middle of telling me all this, right? We just saw last week with the MRI. Did you have a chance to catch last week's episode?
I kind of saw that. Well, I remember that he was talking about how he wishes that it was not like an enclosed MRI. Because,
yes, yes,
yeah,
and so he starts thinking of Todd Howard and Starfield in the tunnel, which
that's right. Yeah, he's got
the funniest thing.
Starfield. That's right.
Yeah, right. That's how I cope with drama. So probably one of the funniest things I've heard. This man, while he's heading to the ER, he's DMing me about how something he thinks about Starfield. I'm just like, bro, this guy can't help himself. He's just like, yo, he's like, this is pretty fire, man. I'm just like, bro, I said, go take care of yourself. Like I had to get him off the Starfield wave. I was like, go take care of yourself. So Cog, he'll give us the update. He wanted me to pass on the word along with the story. But yeah, we're hoping our man's doing well. Just want to give everyone the update on where he is, but he should be back next week. And Gene will be here with us again. Gene, thank you again for making the time to be in the realm of the Dukes.
No problem.
We got a question for you, Gene.
Yeah.
It comes from Astro Parrot King. And I'm not a fan of this one. Not going to lie, but I'm a man of the people. So we got to do right by them. Hello, Gene and Matty. Is baked mac and cheese good to you, Gene? Do you eat mac and cheese with a fork or a spoon? Since you're on the show, we must know. So this is becoming a bit of a ritual. And all of this is done to try to ostracize me, might I add. But, Gene, I'd love to hear your take.
Because you don't like mac and cheese.
I love mac and cheese.
Oh, you do?
I don't like baked. I've gone on about the crunchiness of it. Like this, when people hand me a piece of it and I hear it, like someone had a write in, I think it was Magister DeVita wrote in and said that they talked about the snap of baked mac and cheese. And I was like, I think of creamy. I think of soft. That's how I look at mac and cheese. So, Gene, are you a baked guy?
I am. I don't prefer baked, but I don't mind it. But I do prefer creamy. And I try to go out of my way to avoid the snappier parts. I want my pizza to be snappy, right?
Yes.
Right, that's a New York slice, right?
Yes, we can agree with that. Yes.
Yeah, but with mac and cheese, I'm not against it. And in fact, mac and cheese what got me through cancer. I was eating a ton of mac and cheese because it's good, it's healthy. Cheese has a lot of iron in it. So
I love that.
Yeah, so it actually helped me. Like you all saw me last year when I first talked to Colin. Like I was like emaciated, man. So I was just eating like a ton of mac and cheese to like gain my weight back up.
Dude, I love that. I saw the good news on Twitter, by the way, too,
so
that you had just shared about you just went through your 4th screening, I believe, and everything's looking good.
Yeah. I do what's called a ctDNA test where they draw my blood every few months. And there's a new technology where they can actually look for the DNA of the tumor that I had within my blood, and that would be a really, really good tell on whether it would be recurring or not. Because that's how cancer recurs, in that you didn't really get rid of all of it, and then little tiny bit of cell would travel somewhere else and might just end up in your fucking brain or your liver or whatever like that.
Yeah.
And so the good part is that all flowing through me, there's none of that there, which is like
good.
That's great.
Good.
So,
I'm glad, man.
I'm glad to hear that we probably got it all. So
there we go.
I'm still going to keep doing it because
of course, knows, I wouldn't blame you, dude. I mean, you're a warrior. Seriously. I admire you so much for what you went through and how you had a good spirit throughout it all, really. And people have really rallied around you for that. So on another note, though.
Yeah, well, I mean, the LSM community was there for me too.
Oh gosh, yeah. They're always there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my introduction to LSM and that whole ordeal. I'm glad I went. I'm glad that you guys were there for me. So that's all I can say.
Of course, man. That community is always there to lift us up when we're down, no matter what. Like they'll send the word to Cog anytime I was hurt or sick or out. Just they know how to lift us up. It's a really special community. We're very lucky. Now, Gene, one thing you didn't mention here was whether or not you ate mac and cheese with a fork or a spoon. Now, I don't know if you're dodging me.
Yeah, I do fork because it's like mac and cheese is like pasta, right? So, I mean, I'm not really against either or, but I think I would prefer a fork, which is funny because I usually prefer spoon for most things that might need a fork. You know, like
Okay.
I don't like eating rice with a fork because it just all falls through, right? But
Yeah.
at least
That's
for
a
mac
pain
and
in the
cheese,
ass.
it just feels like pasta, so it feels like a little bit more appropriate for a fork. And plus, I just have more forks. So
Yeah, dude. Okay, well, I'm gonna allow this answer only because you are not. You're not like Cog is saying like baked mac and cheese is the only way to go. Is the vibe I'm getting it from him, but I'm a spoon guy. Like that's the thing. I roll with the spoon through and through because I'm like you get way more. You shovel it in your mouth.
That's true.
I know that's a Matty pause moment. LSM stand down. I get it, but look. Gene, I respect that you're not on the baked grind. So Astro Parrot King, who is, by the way, like he's ended his write-ins in ways trying to get me to admit baked mac and cheese is the wave. Now it's 2-1. Cog's gonna have to get someone else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm weaponizing you right now, Gene. By the way, I know you didn't outright disrespect baked mac and cheese, but I'm bringing you into my side nonetheless.
I have a strong preference for the creamier side for sure. So
there we go. That's my guy. All right, let's keep rolling on here. Got a couple more write-ins. We'll get into the gaming news here.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a bit about TMNT. One bit of an attack against me, but I think it's warranted. Anton K. What up, Double D's? This one's from Matty. Ever since you joined LSM, I've listened and watched every single video you've put out and enjoyed them all. However, since you've moved into your house with the new setup, I found something increasingly distracting. You claim to be a massive TMNT fan, but I can no longer watch as you disrespect Leo in each and every video. Why is that sweet canvas artwork behind you not level with Raph's and off-centered towards your giant anime canvas? And your end of an era video has Raphael not squared. Put some respect on my favorite turtles and use a laser level at least. I bought this sweet artwork, but I used the caddy from Happy Gilmore to hang it kind of day. This is fair. And the reason why it's the way it is, which my backdrop, I like this. My fiance drew this for me, like for I think our 1 year anniversary.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Like that.
Wow. She's super talented. Holy crap.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. She always looks at it and says, I could do so much better now. But like,
yeah,
I think
was
it's
like,
amazing.
Oh, did you get that from Etsy or something? That's awesome.
Very sentimental, right? So I always want that in the backdrop. But the two TMNTs, what I'm rocking with right now, for those who don't know, is when I pulled up to this room, I had to make it home quick. And so there were leftover nails on the wall. And so your boy was just putting stuff wherever the nails exist. Now I have a whole wall hanging kit ready to go. And I'm gonna make things nice and even at the laser level, Anton. I'm gonna break it all out. Things are gonna look nice and square behind me eventually. I was gonna do it this past weekend. Something's in the air, I think, because I got really sick too. I've been extremely sick all week, but I will be fixing this backdrop. I actually have right behind me here from V1 Tech. Shout out to Ebontis. He kind of put me onto these, but these sort of beautiful Mega Man pieces here.
Wow.
Called like Inside the Mecha or something like that. Yeah. So I got Zero and Mega Man. And yeah, those bad boys are going to be right behind me. I'm very excited about it. So we're going to figure it all out. It's going to look a little bit better. But Anton, I do appreciate the smoke on the imbalanced background because it drives me nuts. Okay. But I need to fill the dead area while I could. All right, Gene, you ready for this one?
Yeah.
Because I got to see if you've read something. We call it the Book of the Dukes now. And then we'll get into the news. Benjamin Mama writes in, hello, Master Splinter Matty and Cyber Shredder Gene. After weeks and months of Matty's recommendations, I finally read The Last Ronin. I just wanted to say thank you to both Dukes for the endorsement of the series. It was an incredible ride filled with laughs, tears, and excitement. Fellow listeners, as someone who does not typically read comics or has a background on the lore of TMNT, please do yourself a favor and read this incredible series. P.S. I've been a listener since episode 1 and have really enjoyed the podcast. It has got me through a lot of highs and lows over the past 2 years, and I can't thank you both enough for the ride so far. Matty, I still appreciate you. This is what I'm talking about, Gene. Even if your opinion on mac and cheese is objectively bad. So this is just so you know, as you ally with me and you prefer creamy, this is the slander that comes your way. So just be warned. You know, LSM's community, great, but they'll turn on you in a second. Cog, thank you for constantly expressing that health is in fact wealth. Love from the Midwest. Have the current state of New York baseball kind of day. Thank you, Ben, for writing in. Gene, I want to know, did you have a chance to ever read the last Ronin comic? I feel like I've seen you talk about it, but yes,
have a copy right here, baby.
Yes, sir.
I actually only just read it last year.
Okay.
So this was a pretty new thing for me. I did not know it even existed before I started reading the IDW TMNT comics. And again, going back to my cancer journey, the comics, like when I was stuck in the hospital for weeks and weeks, I was reading the comics the whole way through. I got so hooked on them, and then I found out that the last Ronin existed, and I was like, "You got to be fucking kidding me!" They
Mhm.
actually like made an end game story for fucking Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles,
Yep.
written by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. Like the beginning design
OG.
documents, and what
Yeah.
you planned and everything. Bought it and like absolutely loved it. So
Yeah.
yeah, the last Ronin game, I'm interested in it. Even if it's just like a regular side scrolling beat 'em up, that's cool.
See, I had like an existential crisis last week. Like I'm very scared because I've begged forever for a AAA TMNT game, and now they're doing it with like I'm right there with you. Like probably the
Mm-hmm.
greatest TMNT comic ever made,
Mm-hmm.
possibly. You know, that sense of finality, just I think the ending is perfect. Like there's very little issues with The Last Ronin.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first AAA TMNT effort, if you will, that's not a tie-in game or something like that. That's not a beat 'em up side scroller game, is going into the hands of Black Forest Games. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
just, are you nervous like I am? Like, I like Destroy All Humans 1 and 2 remake. Like, I thought they were good. Technically, I was like, eh. But to leapfrog from that and Wolves, what was it, Woolsey or Bubsy's, the Woolsey Strikes Back, or where the heck it's
Mm-hmm.
called, to the Last Ronin, God of War style game. Like, I got to get a confidence check on Eugene. Like, what's the vibe here for Last
I
Ronin? Can you bring me down and kind of settle me?
I'm hoping that they just keep it simple. Just a straightforward action story. Nothing too like. Don't go too crazy with the open world stuff. And if you do, just keep it a pretty simple open world game. Just keep it a video game as video game to borrow a line from Jake Baldino.
Love that.
And
Yeah.
I think you'd be okay. I feel like that it's pretty easy to envision what a game like this would look like.
Yeah,
Uh,
like when I was reading it for the first time before the game rumors popped up, I was like, this is a perfect fit for a video game. Like it's all right there.
it's all act. There's so much action. I mean, there's a great rise and fall. There's a perfect final boss. There's a variety of settings that you can do,
Mhm.
as well as also like go back to the open world of like the Neo New York or whatever that they had
Yeah.
there. So yeah, I'm moderately excited. I'm hoping that that they'll pull it together. But I mean, you're right. Like it is going to an unknown's hands, and we haven't TMNT hasn't really been treated all the well outside of the Way Forward series.
Yeah.
I did play the Platinum game, and Platinum is one of my favorite
Mutants in
developers in the
Manhattan,
world, but they really fucked that one up.
dude.
I have no idea what they were doing there.
Dude, it's so funny. I watched like the Platinum A team come out for everything, and when I saw they were handling, that was the last time I was
I
authentically
was
excited about something Ninja Turtles video game
Yeah.
wise. I have a video. I cover like RPGs and stuff, and I made a video just losing my mind over it. I was like, yo, it's Platinum. That's like my favorite action game developer. And then,
Yeah.
you're like, after the first three levels, I thought were good, and then afterwards, it's just like
It's just like, what is
downhill.
this game trying to do? I don't know. Like
Rerunning
what is this? Like, who
the sewer
designed this?
levels. It's the eighth stage that always gets me. I think it's the eighth stage where the city's on fire.
Mhm.
That level is fucking awful. Like that's the one that broke me.
It's too
I'm
bad.
ready
I
for
was
this
so
one.
hyped for it too.
Mhm.
And Transformers Devastation. That was a fucking amazing game.
Yeah. Yep.
So I don't know what the fuck happened with TMNT. Like they really tried to do it co-op, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It was too bad.
It's sad because the art style is really good. I've
It's
beat
good.
that game
Yeah, it
like
looks
four
great.
times, by the way. Like I really, it's the only shred of modern TMNT gameplay I have. Like if anyone needs to know how desperate I am, I hate that game, and
Mhm.
I still play it a decent amount because I'm just like I need I need something, bro. So that's how much is riding on Last Ronin.
Dude,
But
you sound like me and when I bought Captain America Super Soldier for the Xbox 360.
I've never played that, but I have it in my collection, and I really have high hopes for it. So am I going to be let down? Because I was like, oh, it's kind of like an Arkham style.
It's
Looks like
pretty
an Arkham
much
style.
that. I like it, and it's not bad. Like it's pretty janky, but like it's
Mm.
not bad. And I think it fills the cup of like a decent Arkham style like beat 'em up for
That
throwing
was
your
a fun
shield and punching
era.
folks. So
That was a fun
yeah,
era where like every game was trying to be like Arkham. No one was coming close, but like you got like the Amazing Spider-Man games, which kind of like you'd see the suit start to rip over the course of the story. Like you see these Arkham-like inspirations, but no one's doing it as well as Rocksteady. That must have
yeah,
been a great
yeah,
spot
yeah.
for them to be in.
Recently, Xbox said that they're closing on their store for Xbox 360.
Mm.
So I scrambled to see what games that aren't out anywhere else would be closing down. And really, the only two games that I thought I was a little disappointed might be going away are the Watchmen games, and those were
Oh,
super super heavily influenced by Arkham. They were very cheap Xbox Live Arcade games, about $10, and they were kind of janky, but they were actually pretty good. You play as Rorschach and the Owl. That's dope.
Okay.
You know.
Well, Gene, are you ready for some video game news, my friend?
There was a lot of it this week for sure.
Yes, there was. At first, the script was kind of looking a little empty, but I'll tell you the opening night live, which we'll talk about. But let's get it started with a little Persona, shall we? Persona 3 Reload got a brand new trailer and a release date. It's dropping February 2nd, 2024. Do remember, day one Game Pass. RK128 has the write-in. Greetings, Beta Boy, Matty, and NDA Dude, Gene. Gene, by the way, I'm just going to swap every write-in that involves Cog's name with yours. While y'all are sailing the stars, Atlas dropped Pure Fire with its Persona 3 Reload content. Confirmation that social links from FES are present. New music tracks are being made for the remake, and even Sega potentially jumping on the $70 price train. Any news sticks out to you? And do you feel better about P3R being the definitive version of P3 now? So, Gene, I'm going to be kicking a lot of these initially to you because I know for some of these topics, like people already know my thoughts, but I'd love to hear some of yours because I may not be super familiar with it. Are you excited for Persona 3 Reload? Do you have any history with that game? And
I'm very excited for Persona 3. I didn't play it, but I hear so many good things about it. And I sometimes hear that it is, competitive with, 4 or 5 as the best one. So I'm really excited to dive into it. I'm a Persona tourist. I really only got into the series with 4. And I didn't even, I still haven't beaten 5, man,
Ooh.
I got pretty far several months ago, and then everything else happened. And then, so now I just can't get back into it until hopefully maybe during the winter when everything slows down, but, so I have a lot of Persona to catch up to. Persona 4 is really the only one that I really, really know well. So I'm excited to maybe try 3, but I might have to finish 5 first, though, honestly,
Yeah, it's a tough one because pretty much now what's happening is with some of the new mechanics they're adding, which for example, like the baton pass from Persona 5 Royal and 5 is making its way into 3 Reload, which is like a great mechanic. Like, that's going to infinitely make Tartarus better, which is for those who don't know, the dungeon you explore.
The one dungeon that you explore in 3, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like the worst part of the game. So any type of gameplay enhancements are going to go a real long way with me, at least. With Persona 5 with you, I think so. Were you playing base 5?
Royal 5. So.
You're playing Royal. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, Gene. Now, okay. That's the reason I didn't react because people may have been surprised. I thought you were playing base 5. To me, I'm like, okay, that's fine. But when people are like, I haven't finished Royal, I'm like, okay. Now we got to chat because that is like arguably the best ending I've seen in a video game. Like I
keep hearing that, so it's like, man, I really got to get through it. Right, I like the game a lot, right?
Yes, I know you don't need convincing, but if I could give you the extra nudge, like you may have just given me an extra nudge for a certain game. What I'll say is the reason I wanted to start making video games at all after years of playing them is literally I beat Persona 5 Royal, and that was it.
Kidding.
Like, yeah, it was.
All right.
I've loved hard a lot of games for sure. But Persona 5 was that game I beat. And I was like, that changes me. I was like, that is an insane emotional experience. So yeah, you would absolutely love it. There's no doubt about it. If you can make the time for it, it's worthwhile. It's a game that once you beat, I don't think I'll ever go back to Persona 5 Royal to like replay. Like but it's something that'll always stick with you, which I think is really why it's worth it. But how far did you get? Just on us.
I was like the fourth case, so I was like halfway-ish. I'm sure it was like
you were halfway in the base game. You were decent enough ways in where you could.
So I know what the game is about, and it just takes a while,
Yes,
so,
yes, it does.
It just takes.
I feel you on that, bro.
It just takes a while.
Yeah, but I'm very excited about some of the new additions to Persona 3 Reload. The new music sounds great. The presentation, it looks like a great mix of 3's original water focus and flair with 5's more bombastic transitions on screen, like the cut-ins they do. Instead of going in front of the screen with the mask ripping like in 5, they go behind the character, little details like that. But I'm very excited, especially February is starting to fill out a little bit, and the late January frame is starting to fill out a little bit. So I'm getting a little nervous here because it's going to be a competitive time. Once again, it's going to remind me a lot of October, I think. But I'm extremely excited nonetheless for Persona 3 Reload. And again, reminder to everyone, day one Game Pass. All right, Sega, we're going to stick with them for a moment here before we get into Fallout, Phil Spencer interview, Stalker 2, and so on and so forth. Sega has completed its acquisition of Rovio. This is the Angry Birds developer, so they are now officially in-house. I thought this was a worthwhile update, especially when COG was supposed to be here, just because my man's really tooting the horn that Sega's up next, and I would be in agreement. So, because I think with Rovio, I think it just increases the odds of Xbox and Sega coming together, because now you have a mobile game partner. That's what Xbox is looking at. So, Gene, what do you make of Sega getting their hands on Rovio?
I think it's interesting. It's awesome because mobile games are kind of like the new arcade games. That's kind of like the new arcade culture, right? That's where the casuals go, and to pump money in. The games are kind of similar. So I feel like it even matches with the culture and traditions of what Sega has been. And you're right that it does kind of like fatten the goose for a potential Microsoft acquisition. I don't like acquisition talks as much as the next guy, but I've said before that I do believe that if Sega was going to be sold to anybody, it would make the most sense with Xbox, because the Xbox has always been thought of as the spiritual successor to the Dreamcast. Because the Dreamcast had Windows technology in it. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's funny because we'll be talking about Sega in a sense later too, because I've been playing Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, and it's like the most Dreamcast ass game I've played in a hot minute. So Sega's on the mind, y'all. Let's continue rolling here. We have more Fallout show details, with the official Twitter account confirming the location of the show's start, I believe, in Vault 33, which is Los Angeles. They say an original series, Fallout, coming to Prime Video in 2024. So we have a release window now. I think it was a safe assumption it was going to be 2024 as we got deeper and deeper in the year. This likely means that the first trailer probably won't hit until then, but there have been a plethora of leaks for this. They've slowed down because the filming for season 1 has presumably ended. So now we just have this sort of official statement here from Prime Video. And Gene, are you looking forward to this? Because at first I was very much a naysayer, but as this is one of those times the leaks really helped them out, because as like a lore geek, I'm like, wait, they're actually doing really good with the sets and the little pieces of detail. So I'm kind of hopeful for this one. But how are you feeling about the Fallout TV show in 2024?
I hope it's good, because the premise is so ripe for good television. I especially for a casual audience. Like I knew that The Last of Us was going to be a hit with the casual audience, right? And I have that same feeling with the premise of Fallout. It's such a compelling premise that anyone can relate to. Especially nowadays after we all just had lockdown.
Yeah.
And people were losing their goddamn minds. So it would be completely relatable to see that the vault dwellers losing their minds and seeing how they act. I'm also excited that it's back in California. NCR, New California Republic, looks like that they're definitely going to be in play. So it looks like it's just going really back to the roots of Fallout, and that leaves it room for season 2 hype when once you start seeing the Washington Monument or the Capitol or the bombed out White House.
Yeah,
like, oh, now we're going to Washington D.C.
Yeah, that's how I always. It's funny you bring it that way, because I always envisioned the seasons, if this is a success, which I agree with you, I think it's going to be a slam dunk if they don't really dramatically screw it up, is that they're gradually going to go from west to east and gradually explore the United States, because that's the thing I've always wanted with Fallout, where I never understood why there weren't shows, or really I always championed like books, comics, individual stories of these places all over the Fallout franchise that have just been largely unaddressed or only heavily speculated on, or there's like little hints in New Vegas or 3 still about places we might be able to see, like what is New York like? And we're getting kind of a little answer into a weirder pocket with like Atlantic City and Fallout 76 next year. And this goes into what I've been saying for a while, which is I really think they're going to try to align 76, because that game's been dead silent all year. Like that game has been, outside of the new seasons, which has really added minimal content, it's been completely silent with a roadmap. They just have Atlantic City. And now we already know that the Fallout 4 next gen update's not coming until after Starfield comes out. So I feel like they're just holding all this Fallout content back until 2024 when this show is ready to go to sort of have their Netflix CD Projekt Red moment of like, look at The Witcher 3's player count going higher than it ever has before. I think they're trying to prime Fallout 4 and
Cyberpunk,
76
right?
to kind of have that cyberpunk moment, that Witcher moment of just like insane player count resurgence. The problem is, and we're saying this without breaking NDA. The problem is it's after Starfield with a brand new engine, if you will, or a new addition to the engine, and now you're asking us to go back to the original. Like how many months later? I think that's going to be the tough sell for those who are in the Bethesda ecosystem. So I'm curious to see how Bethesda walks that line. But I was actually talking with someone just on a note of Fallout. Last thought here about with the success of Baldur's Gate 3. I wonder if Bethesda is looking at a way they can bring back a classic style Fallout game, because it's very clear it would do well. Like people are more open to it than ever before.
Absolutely. Go right back to the original Fallout 1, Fallout 2, remake those. Why not, Fuck, if they remake that in time with the show, which I don't think they're going to do, but that'd just be perfect.
A remaster package, like I just
Or even a remaster package, like with updated pixels or whatever like that. People I will eat that shit up so much.
I would too. I mean, it's been forever since I really did it. It's really since Fallout 4 came out. I haven't replayed Fallout 1 or 2. Like I played those off of sheer unapologetic hype. Like I was just like, I need more Fallout. Let me do this. I think I played them both in August, and they were Fallout 2 especially is an amazing video game. Like just some of the craziest choices and role playing you can find in a RPG. But otherwise, like I feel like with a couple, like they brought back Wasteland 1, for example, with a director's cut or something like that. And I think that's available in like Game Pass and everything. So I just think getting that classic vibe back into Game Pass, or of course, everyone knows Matty requesting Fallout 3 New Vegas to get a remaster for, the other console. Like I imagine with back compat, Xbox may not get it, but for PlayStation and whatnot, it kind of do what Red Dead 2 is doing with Switch and PlayStation, like that kind of treatment. Maybe just not as expensive. I can see them doing something like that too.
Yeah. Well, I would love to see Fallout 1 and Fallout 2 get the Super Mario RPG treatment, just smooth out those 3D visuals, but really just keep the same aesthetic, but just redo all the models, but like it just the same fucking design. That's it.
Yeah, I agree. The combat could use some touching up, I think.
That's true.
That was definitely a little... That felt a little, actually, because I did go back last December to do a quick video on it, and the combat definitely felt a little weird going back. All right, let's continue on. We got a Phil Spencer interview here, and this is a very, I think, telling update on the plans Xbox has moving forward, and that maybe 2022 will never happen again. By that, I mean a vacancy of games completely, an absence of first party almost completely, barring Obsidian just doing a lot of the carrying. So Phil Spencer confirmed via an interview with IGN's Destin Legary that 4 first party AAA games per year is no longer an aspiration, but a plan. So Gene, what do you make of Phil's plan now? More so, it reminds me of what Todd said with the original Starfield release date, where it's in ink now. Like that's the kind of vibe I'm getting with this. So do you think we should expect 4 first-party AAA games every year from Xbox moving forward, with now having Activision, Bethesda, and their own first-party, and then partnerships they're doing through Xbox Game Studios?
You know what? I feel like I see Phil always get pushback that they didn't accomplish this year, but they did. I hope people stop forgetting about Hi-Fi Rush, because Hi-Fi Rush to me is an easily top 5 game of the year. Not game of the year, obviously, but a top 5 game of the year. And it was interesting because I actually watched the interview with Destin just a couple minutes before we got on the show. And it was interesting to see Phil also talk about, I know you guys don't want to give us credit for Redfall, but Redfall is there. It's very, very interesting to see the CEO of one of these platforms kind of admit that they fell through with a product that they launched. Like you would never ever hear Jim Ryan or anyone in Nintendo say, we kind of dropped the ball there. And so that's why Phil has his reputation of being honest and more transparent than the others, even though he lies a lot. He does, he's straight up lying a lot,
Yeah.
But Besides those, he's still actually pretty honest about the reality of the situation. So that was what struck me the most. But I do think that they did do this with 2023, and
Mhm.
it does hopefully seem like moving forward that they're able to they're going to be. I'd be more surprised if they fail again next year.
Yeah, because this year, that's the thing that's happening is people hear 4 AAA games and they think they have to be 4 good AAA games. They don't count. I think a lot of people are overlooking the fact that provided Forza Motorsport launches when it's supposed to,
Mm-hmm.
Xbox will have delivered the 4 AAA games this year. You would
Easily.
have got your Hi-Fi Rush. You would have got Redfall, which that's the thing. People are like, that shit sucks. And I mean, we agree, but like that counts. It
Mm-hmm.
does count as a AAA game. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the nature of them increasing the volume is there's a bigger chance you get a Hi-Fi Rush. Like, wow, I
Yes.
never would have expected this. Is amazing. But it also increases the chance of like, wow, we just got the lowest rated Xbox exclusive in years. So we literally got both ends of the spectrum this year. And it's a really good gauge on what we can expect. Now, I want higher quality.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk more about all of that in time when we get all these games releasing. But I do think people need to pay attention that Xbox is delivering on their promise this year. It's very late, but they are starting to deliver finally.
Yeah. I've been playing more Xbox than I've ever have well, obviously since last year. So it's nice to be back in the ecosystem.
We also got an update here on the plans for Call of Duty and Game Pass, and I could hear Cog just rolling around in pain right now. If he heard this news, man, he would be so upset because he's been really saying like, oh, November is going to get filled out a certain way. So let's read. Phil Spencer confirmed that Call of Duty will not be immediately available on Game Pass following the closure of the Activision Blizzard deal. Quote, there's actually work to do to move games to Game Pass. People think the deal closes and it's all on Game Pass. That's not true. It will take us time to get the games on Game Pass. End quote. Now, Cogs really had his heart set on this. MW3, November 10th. Now it's going to be day one Game Pass when the deal closes. I think this puts a pin in those plans, maybe. But, Gene, when do you think we would start to see Activision Blizzard games come in? Because, I remember Xbox and Bethesda, they were together as one. And then that roundtable they did, they said 20 new Bethesda games are available today on Game Pass. It was like The Evil Within, Prey had a resurgence, and Wolfenstein, and so forth, so on and so forth. When do you think we're going to see Activision games if it's not immediately on Game Pass?
I have no idea what the holdup is, right? Because we had that precedence with Bethesda, and all the Call of Duty games are backwards compatible. You see the servers bar back up, and I reinstalled them all. I own them all, and I just reinstalled them all.
Same here, sir.
So I'm not sure what the holdup is. I don't know what. Maybe they're trying to come up with a strategy to drip feed it because they know how valuable Call of Duty is compared to the whole Bethesda outfit, or maybe they want to repackage things, because we did get Modern Warfare 1 and Modern Warfare 2 remasters,
That's true. That's true. Yeah, it's I'm with you. It's a little bit perplexing on why they would hold back outside of money. We do know Bobby Kotick did kind of speak out against day one Game Pass, even under oath. It's something Phil actually commented on in this interview, saying something along the lines of, well, someone else is calling the shots now, so therefore, that's why we're doing it, even if Bobby Kotick is kind of against it. Yeah, I'm putting it a little bit more brash, but I'll grab the exact quote in a moment here because I did see it. But yeah, it was more the energy of why are you doing this day one Game Pass stuff if Bobby Kotick doesn't like it? And it's well, I'm the boss, so I'm gonna bring these games day one to Game Pass, which I kind of like that energy out of Phil.
Yeah, for sure.
But I just, if I were to put my finger on it, I could see them kind of running back a little. Maybe it's a little optimistic, but another developer direct at the top of the year. I think that was a really good move by Xbox to sort of set the tone for 2023, saying here's everything we're doing in pretty much the first half of the year. Of course, we know Forza then got delayed. We didn't know when it would be delayed till, but we got a good feel for what Xbox was going to be doing. And I think that again with, the Activision deal, here are the games you're getting in Game Pass and kind of setting the stage again for maybe re-revealing, I think, a Contraband is one. And of course, Hellblade. I think there's a lot for them to show again, where maybe that's where they could start to orient things and set the tone. Because when you end your year with, and I know it's not the sexiest game, but when you end your year with Forza Motorsport, that game's going to do amazing. I think I'll be shocked if that game's a flop on any metric. I think it's going to do well with fans. I think it's going to sell really well, play really well. And so I just look at that. You're following that Starfield up with that. Like you can kind of just, okay, let's just coast into the holiday sales. We've done our part. And I think fans would be perfectly happy with that. But it's like, okay, now it's 2024. What do you
Here's
want?
my thinking. I wonder if they had learnings from that Bethesda blowout drop, and they realized because Microsoft is in the subscription business, right? I've been in the
Yeah.
subscription business for the past 20 years, right? In newspapers. And
Yes.
and
Yeah. I see where you're going. Keep going.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah. And you can't just like have it all at once, because part of the challenge of being a subscription business is that you need
Yeah.
that retention. That is the biggest thing that a lot of people in the subscription business forget,
Mm,
you know, that you need to have more reasons for people to keep paying on and on and on. And I feel like, Netflix and HBO kind of figured that out with their cadence. And I'm
that's
wondering if
a good point.
they had a learning from the Bethesda blowout, and they were like, you know what, we had a big drop afterwards because people just played the games and they just kind of like went away, right? So it's like
Yes.
maybe if we started drip feeding things more, then it's like, okay, well, because I fucking love the Gears of War series, right?
Mhm.
But the fact that all of them are on there, so I just like played through them all in like a month, and I'm just like,
Mhm.
okay,
On sub, right?
yeah, fun's over on Game Pass. That's it. What am I going to do? Fucking, play Recode. So, um,
No, that's actually such a good point, though,
mhm,
because especially with the IP they have, they could do a Tony Hawk drop, they can do a Call of
mhm,
Duty drop, a Crash Bandicoot drop, a Spyro drop, or however they want to strategize it and spread it all out. They can really do that, and
mhm,
you probably just hit the nail on the head as to why.
mhm,
I think something like MW3 could be a business consideration. Like, let's not just cut this thing off from underneath right out the
mhm,
rip
mhm,
if they feel it's gonna impact things on a sales front, if people are waiting on like a Game Pass deal to be announced or some type of information there. But yeah, I
mhm,
think that's probably it. Yeah, it was probably a learning experience from Bethesda. Well put.
mhm.
We got confirmation on a new partnership here for Obsidian in Devoted Studios, who's assisting Obsidian Entertainment in the creation of 3D assets for Avowed. So this isn't terribly uncommon for game development nowadays to have support studios stepping in to help you out with different pieces of the game. So before anyone thinks it's a sign of that things are going really bad for Avowed, I don't think so. But it's good to know partnerships are being made to give the rest of the team room to breathe, and so that they can continued to produce here. But Gene, any thoughts on Devoted Studios helping out Obsidian?
I'm just glad to hear it because Obsidian projects always are a challenge. They always come out a little bit broken, so
Yeah,
it's nice to hear.
well,
And that's not really like a huge knock. Like I'm just saying that that's just what has happened. Like I love
yeah,
Obsidian games, and I don't like I got a lot of flack for defending how Evolved looks. And I'm like, that looks fucking fine to me for an Obsidian game. That looks great. I
dude, I
can't wait.
was in the
And
same
that's
boat.
not. I'm not playing the game for the graphics.
Yeah, I
Um,
was in the same exact boat. I was
mhm,
like, I think some of y'all are bugging. Like, the thing is it's I saw people slowing it down. They were like, this frame here looked
mhm,
really bad for Avowed. And I'm like, okay, that does look bad, but like now we know it's pre-alpha. And
mhm,
and now we know that's a particular frame and a particular part of the gameplay. Like, are we
mhm,
really gonna overanalyze it this much? Like, is it an impressive looking game? I guess maybe not, but like, does it look good enough for what it's trying to be? Yes. Like, I don't, as you said, I don't play these types of Obsidian games to oogle at the
mhm,
graphics.
mhm.
Maybe the color, since the Outer World had a beautiful color palette, but
Yeah.
not necessarily the visuals. It's about like, can I replay this thing tons
Mhm,
of times? Can I go back 3 years from now and have a completely different experience? Yes.
mhm.
Okay, that's what I'm here for. Let's keep going. Stalker 2, Gene. Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl has a release window now where it's coming out on PC and Xbox Series X and S at Q1 2024. So originally the leak was saying the 1st of December. I believe that was coming through a leak at Koch Media, but now we have a little bit of a window in the first quarter of 2024. So this is going to be a big one for Xbox. It's still a timed exclusive based off what we learned from the Epic and Apple court case, where I think it was revealed it's a 3-month timed exclusive for Stalker 2. But are you excited for this one? Are you putting this one up on the calendar?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the Stalker franchise. I mean, I didn't play Stalker 1, but
Mm.
I am excited for it. I was interested in Stalker 1. I just never got around to it, so maybe I'll try Stalker 2. I'm just glad to hear that the project is finally finishing. Shout out to everyone in Ukraine. I'm glad
Yeah.
that you all are safe and you were able to Sounds like you're able to punch this game through the finish line, and people are playing it at Gamescom. So that's great.
Yeah, I've heard some good things
Yeah,
too
yeah,
about it. So that's very encouraging. I mean, I
mhm,
wasn't worried about the quality of the game. It's just about if it's going to release, right? There
yeah,
was
yeah.
no pressure from gamers given the situation in Ukraine. It was like, okay, absolutely take your time. But the fact that it's actually going to be out is kind of crazy.
Yeah, my walking cane while I was sick was actually handcrafted in Ukraine too. So
Really?
yeah. So
Wow.
people are going through it, but they're still working.
Yeah. Shout out to them, man. I mean, this is
Mhm.
it's going to be a special game release, no
Yeah, I
doubt
think
about
so. I think yeah. I think it'll be a good story. Anyways, yeah. Maybe I should cover that. So I don't know for the Washington Post.
Well, a
So,
lot of people, because you mentioned watching my Fallout videos, a lot of people who are Fallout fans. Now, it's not a Fallout style game, but a lot of people who are Fallout fans have told me forever
mm,
play the Stalker games.
mm.
Play the Stalker games. They're like, if you like Fallout, if you like atmosphere, you're gonna love the Stalker games. And
Dope. Yeah,
so,
it looks like it.
yeah, exactly. And so that's why I was holding off for Stalker 2. Then the release date got moved so far back, and so then I was like, well, I don't have a great excuse anymore. I'm just waiting out Stalker 2. Yeah, but there's so many games in this series as well. So this, if anyone ends up finding Stalker 2 interesting looking, or you want more of that, there is plenty more. You can find it on Steam. And I believe there was a leak a while ago that some type of collection was going to come out for the Stalker game. So hopefully that's still a thing that they can eventually do. My fiance's walking the dog outside, was waving at me. But yeah, Stalker 2, Q1 2024. You talked a bit about this, Gene, so let's get a bit into it.
Yeah.
Xbox is closing the Xbox 360 digital store on July 29th, 2024. All the original Xbox and Xbox 360 content has been imported to the modern Xbox store, will still be available to purchase after the closing of the 360 store. So some games will inevitably be left behind. Now, have you found this interesting, Gene? And I'm wondering if I'm forgetting something here, but there was a lot of pushback when PlayStation was like, all right, we're shutting down the PS3 store, we're shutting down the Vita store,
Mm-hmm.
say your goodbyes. Everyone was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And like now if you go into the PSN on your Vita, especially, I've tried to like download stuff, you see they were mid teardown. Like there are thumbnail images
Mm-hmm.
missing, game listings are all screwed up. Like it's just like they went, okay, we'll finish this later. They didn't go back and fix anything at all. But there was a major pushback on PlayStation. I don't get why did Xbox not get pushback for this? I feel like I'm missing something here.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm a little surprised at that, and maybe it's because like the Xbox generation might be a little younger, so they're more like acclimated to the digital present, the all digital present, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not really mourning the loss of these games as much. I don't know, but I think that's my only take on it.
Mm-hmm.
I am also surprised that there was so much pushback against PS3 and then Xbox 360. It's just like it's your usual like John Linnemans of Digital Foundry and like your modern vintage gamers lamenting it, and me of course, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, outside of that though, most people were like, it's fine.
Yeah, I find it disappointing because I'm looking at my game collection now, my 360 games, and I'm like, there's so many on that rack that I can't throw into my Series X. Like, if that's the thing, everyone would be okay letting go of these storefronts if I could just throw the disc in
Mm-hmm.
and it would work fine on the Series X. If I could just download it from the storefront, it wored fine.
Yeah, I can't play fucking Captain America Super Soldier on the Xbox Series X.
I know, right? Yeah, I know. It's right. I see it right now. It's right there. Castlevania, Lords of Shadow.
Castlevania Lords of Shadow, which is backwards compatible, right? So
I think that one is.
it is, yeah.
What else do we have here? I'm looking Amped, the whole Amp
Oh,
series, The Incredible Hulk, Dragon Ball Raging Blast, Enslaved. I think that's Eternal Sonata. Like, just so many great games, man, that are going to be left behind inevitably. And I'm kind of disappointed on the lack of noise. I really thought there would be more from gamers after the PS3 thing, but I think it's a sign that like Xbox fans are in a different pocket, like you said, like
Mm-hmm.
whether they're younger or not. With Game Pass, there is that neutering, if you will, and of that attachment you have to your game collection because you're so used to just window shopping, downloading stuff, deleting stuff. Like it's all about hard drive space.
Yeah, and I think
not
also
shelf
for the
space.
PS3, because there's just no PS3 games anywhere, like they fucked that whole generation up, so so it's not backwards compatible at all. So maybe like the fact that there's some Xbox 360 games, like all the ones that a lot of people really care about, obviously the Gears series or like the Splinter Cell series. I mean, they're all fine and they're all still downloadable and playable. But you can't get that in PS3. Metal Gear Solid 4 is still stuck there.
Yeah. Not for long,
Final
right?
Fantasy 13 is still stuck there. On the PlayStation side.
Dude, I still think Square Enix is gonna bring that trilogy back, and I'm gonna be there to fucking laugh at everyone who has the revisionist ass opinions of like, yo, this actually ain't that bad. When people wake
That's
up
me.
and they finally tried 13-2. Have you that is a legitimately amazing game, but because it's the sequel to probably one of the most linear pieces of garbage, people are like, oh, I'm never playing that. But it's so good. It's frustrating. Like, I'm frustrated on Square's behalf that 13-2 did not get the play it deserved. And Lightning Returns is great too. If that first entry, and the first entry isn't, in my opinion, that awful, but I know for a lot of people, the convoluted story.
I'd like it. I just played it. Well, I played it on the Xbox, right? Because I heard it was 4K. So
it looks beautiful.
That
right?
replay in 2019, I was like, this game, I actually had fun. I actually kind of get it now,
Yeah.
And then I just finished it again on the Steam Deck, and I fucking loved it. I understand it. I completely understand the story. I understand everything that was going on, which was crazy. I was just like, I can't believe it took me like 15 years to understand the story. It's like James Joyce, Ulysses, or something.
Dude. Well, I get why at first it's confusing to people, because there are so many games that I think I said it in my Retro Rebound video on Final Fantasy 13. I call it death by terminology. Like, when you have a term for every nook and cranny in your universe, you're going to kill your story, because no one knows what you're talking about.
So I just took the time to be like, okay, I understand what a fallacy is, what the lessee is. I understand what this government system is. I get it. I know what all the players are. And then once I understood the definitions and I played the game, I was like, this all makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. Like, it reminds me a lot of Kingdom Hearts, where when I'm in the thick of Final Fantasy 13, like, I think 13-2 and Lightning Returns actually told the story pretty well, like, because they managed to simplify things more. But with 13, it reminds me of that Kingdom Hearts experience where, like, when I'm in the thick of it, I was like, okay, I'm getting it. But if you pulled me out of the game and you sat down, like, if you were like, Matt, tell me about the story, I'd be like, okay, so Google. I would immediately freeze, because I'm just like, I don't know how much I could really tell you.
I just played it 2 weeks ago and I already forgot the name of the government. You notice I just said government because it's just like I completely forgot what they were too. So
that thing.
Those people. But I played it again so I can earn myself. Like what Colin always says, I want to earn myself to the sequels. I never played 13-2 and Lightning Returns, and I know that I've heard that they're good, just like you said. So it's like, I want to earn my way back. I have them on Steam Deck. I'm going to play them after this fall of nightmares of games right now. And hopefully, again, I'll probably go back to December. It'll be a JRPG December, Persona 5, Royal, and the final finish out the 13 trilogy.
Do you like Chrono Trigger, Gene?
I think Chrono Trigger is one of the best games I've ever made.
I think you'll like 13-2 a lot then.
Yeah.
13-2 takes a lot.
Music to my ears. If you compare anything to Chrono Trigger, I'm like, fuck yes.
Yeah. In the most, like, surprising way too. I'll just say there's a lot of time travel and stuff, a lot of cool exploration. It's really inspired artistically. I think you'll like it a lot. And the music, good lord,
dude, the music in the regular 13 is amazing too.
I know. Just wait, 13-2.
Yeah,
and they're gonna bring it back. I'm telling y'all. Just get ready. Square's gonna announce the trilogy remaster. They're gonna do it. They didn't make 3 games to sit on them. It's free money. People are gonna buy them. Those games did well. There's a reason why they made 3. Suck on that, losers. All right, Alan Wake 2. Its release date has been bumped back to October 27th. The reasoning you might find quite interesting. Quote, October is an amazing month for game launches, and we hope this date shift gives more space for everyone to enjoy their favorite games, end quote. How considerate of Remedy and Epic. Like, how nice of them just to really think of us in this way, man. I mean, October, I've been telling everyone, November's right there. You've got Star Ocean, Call of Duty. That's it.
November's empty.
I think Super Mario RPG, right?
That's
true.
That's it, though. I mean, the audience for Super Mario RPG and Alan Wake 2 aren't the same thing, so who cares,
But dude, everything is, as we'll get into with the opening night live coverage, everything's in October. But I like this. This is closer to Halloween, where I think this game's actually a really good fit. And I'm very excited about this. We'll talk about it more extensively with opening night live, because that's what ended the show. But any thoughts on the release date change?
Sure, I guess. But I totally agree with you. I don't understand why November is so empty when it's like, I obviously it's time to Halloween. That'd be nice.
Mhm.
It's definitely good for promotion because all the streamers will want to play the new spooky game. And if Alan Wake 2 is actually scary, because the remedy, well, I don't know. We can talk about it later. We can talk more about Alan Wake later. But
You
yeah.
can go on. You can go on. I don't want to hold you back.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that like the games are spooky, but they haven't been that scary, right? So it's like,
Mm.
but Control was pretty creepy. So it's like I
I
think
never
they're kind
played
of getting
that
their
yet.
horror groove on.
Yeah, I played Alan Wake 1 and I played Quantum Break, but I never played Control. And so
Really,
I got that's a wrong I got to right. Like I know
mm,
that's a travesty. That's a huge L on my
it,
part.
it 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 is probably their best game. So
Really?
yeah, I would say
Wow.
so.
Is it story wise really good? Like that's the
It's
thing I think that put me off is I heard people saying like, I don't know.
it's good. It's super confusing, but it's super intriguing, and like the shit that happens there is really interesting. Like, yeah,
Okay.
you just got to play it. It's a really really interesting concept that I love, and it's a world that I love being in, and it's
Okay.
it's got a lot of good replay value too. So
Interesting. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, because you know what put me on the interested list for that game was actually when I heard they're like, oh, it's starting to turn to a whole universe, like Alan Wake and Control are
yeah.
kind of connected. So I'm
hmm
I'm very interested to see what that looks
I
like.
didn't finish. I didn't play the DLC, so I think that's another
Oh.
blind spot that I need to kind of go back to because yeah,
Okay.
I did hear that they were expanding the whole story, and it's like, man, I gotta get back into that. But
Ooh. Okay.
yeah.
Noted. Because I also want to replay the first Alan Wake. That's I played that when I was in like high school, I think, man. So I need to
I did
remind
replay it
myself
a
what
few years
happened.
ago. It holds up pretty good. I actually liked American Nightmare, the kind of
I never
sequel that they
played
had.
that. My friend loved it.
I loved it. I fucking loved it because it was like semi-open world, like in like a really small like ranch area,
Mhm.
And it was just even more actiony, which I like. That's what I thought the best strength of Alan Wake One was, is that it was just a really good action game.
Yeah.
And then American Nightmare kind of leaned into that. And then now I have no idea what the fuck Alan Wake 2 is about because it's been so long.
Yeah.
Like I
I'm
can't
in the
like look at
same
American
exact boat. I'm
Nightmare,
like,
like,
I gotta
ooh, like
replay because I don't
maybe
know
this
what's
will be an
happening.
evolution of American Nightmare. I have no idea. So
God willing. Looks like a very Resident Evil inspired game, which was not
yeah.
my original expectation. We have an update here from Steven Totillo on Ubisoft's canceled Immortals sequel, which was meant to be a mix of Elden Ring and The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker set across a fictionalized Polynesian archipelago that stretched from New Zealand to Hawaii. And it was designed to be a break from the standard Ubisoft formula. So this sounds like a pretty tragic loss internally for a project because maybe people have been calling for this sort of break from the Ubisoft formula. And it looked like we had something like that on the way, and it's been canceled. So
Mhm.
I know sometimes for people they don't want to hear this information because they're like, "Oh, it's canceled. That sucks." And then you hear what it would have been, and that's what makes it stings more. Like I think of
Mhm.
like before we got Dice's Battlefront 2 and they fixed it all. One thing that always haunted me was the canceled Battlefront 3 footage. I remember that I used to think that looked so cool, and there was so much of it, and it was like salt in the wound. So maybe this is salt in the wound for some out there, but I still wanted to make sure we did our part, brought the information there. So, Gene, any thoughts on Immortals, the sequel to Immortals, I should say, being canceled?
It's interesting because I'm from the Pacific Islands, so I'm very very deeply familiar with the region that they were going to basically cover.
Mhm.
And you could say what you want about Ubisoft and their sexual harassment and their shitty formulate games, honestly, but like their cultural representation has actually been pretty good. And people made fun of like Far Cry 6's like cockfighting, and then I'm like, I thought that was perfect because like I come from like a cockfighting culture.
Mm.
I used to like go to cockfights all the time.
Really?
So that's why like when I saw it in the game, I was like, this is beautiful. This is I love to see this culture represented in the game. So and then of course the Assassin's Creed games have been very good, and
Yeah.
we can talk more about Mirage later, but. So yeah, it's just too bad that concept was crushed because Immortals: Phoenix Rising, I never finished it, but I really did like it, and I think that the formula could have used a sequel to build upon. My only problem was the puzzles. I just thought that the puzzles were too just like, this is a puzzle, put the ball here, that's it. There's like no real story or context to like puzzles. So
Yeah.
I just got kind of annoyed like just doing so many
It
of them.
was it was the most we like Zelda puzzles I think I've ever seen.
Exactly. Yeah, and like Zelda barely, like Breath of the Wild barely did that too. Like
Yeah.
putting good context to the puzzles, and then Immortal Phoenix Rise like kind of like made it even more puzzly. It's just
Mhm.
like these are just puzzles that you're just gonna do. Put the ball in the hole.
See, the sad part about the sequel not getting out is because I don't think it performed poorly because people weren't interested. I think it performed poorly because Ubisoft released like 3 open world games in a
Mm-hmm.
row at that stretch. It was when they dropped Valhalla and Watch Dogs Legion, and this was in the thick of it. It's like a brand new IP that should have had its own individual window and marketing campaign, but they just did a massive shotgun blast in the holiday fall window, and I don't know how lucrative that was. Like, for example, AC Valhalla was like the fastest selling Assassin's Creed ever. I imagine it went on to make them good money. It seems to be the cash cow.
Mm-hmm.
I hope Watch Dogs Legion did well too, because that game, while I wasn't like in love with its story or anything, like the mechanic,
I
the
loved it.
systems in that game,
Yeah.
awesome.
Dude, it was so cool.
Right? It was so cool. There's so much they can build on with that. So I'm very excited for what they can do next with that series.
Yeah.
But you had this very different thing in the middle of it all that was very much, it felt like for me, inspired by what they were trying to do with AC Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
It's just in the thick of all this. And I feel like they should have just given it an honest try. I know it's easy to say from the outside looking in. They didn't want to risk funding it and then it flopping. It would have hurt them big time.
Mm-hmm.
But as a consumer, it sucks because I feel like it probably would get the support it needed if it had the window and the room to breathe and it wasn't surrounded by 2 other open world games from from the same publisher that are
I remember I was playing Valhalla and I was just burned out on Valhalla, which a game I still really, really enjoyed, and I fucking love the story of Valhalla, right?
Same.
But like, as much as I love that game, I totally got burned out on it. I never want to fucking touch that game ever again. So that didn't make the strongest case for me just diving right into Immortals with a similar combat system and like a similar, not really a similar open world. Like I thought the world design was actually quite beautiful, but it's again like you're still doing a checklist of things in a big world, and it's like I would just burned out, and you're losing the opportunity for me to hook me here right now.
Yeah, because I remember a lot of people. I reviewed it too, but a lot of people. I remember seeing the review scores afterwards, and I was surprised. They were like, "This is a new IP from Ubisoft. That's what a new IP should be." I'm like, "This feels like pretty much." Every Ubisoft game I've played, it just has puzzles in it. Like it's got a different art style, but
yeah.
Gene, I wonder if you'll have something to say on this next bit of news here. Star Wars Dark Forces is getting a remaster from Night Dive Studios, and it's coming soon. I've actually never played this one, so would you be able to educate me a little bit on Star Wars Dark Forces? Have you played this before?
Yeah, I barely remember it, but because like as I recall, that's like one of the first the Doom clones before we even define what a first person shooter is. So I remember it being amazing because it was one of the first Star Wars games with like actual like good sound and like it was imagining a Star Wars game as a shooter, which is the easiest thing to do. You don't even have to worry about lightsabers,
Yeah.
So it was a really good game. I'm not sure how well it'll hold up, especially compared to like a game like Doom, which holds up remarkably well.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but Night Dive Studios, shout out to them. They do fucking amazing work. Yeah. I love what they're doing. I don't want to discourage this. So I'll probably be there to try it out again and just kind of revisit it. And like it, I've Colin and I have talked about this, but like I am also alongside him that I'm just like fucking sick of Star Wars.
Really interesting. See, for me, I've been out of Star Wars for a while, which is unlike me. And I guess maybe is that a sign I'm sick of it? But I want to get back into it, which is the thing that I know I'm not sick of because I want to like go watch Mandalorian season 3. I never watched Andor, and I want to obviously watch Ahsoka, but I saw the reviews for Ahsoka's first episode were like terribly low,
middling. Yeah, at the most. Yeah,
I think I saw GameSpot gave it like a 2. I was like, oof. I thought that was like a typo. I thought that was like a date or something. I'm like, no, it's a 2 out of 10. I'm like, how does a pilot get a 2 out of 10? I don't know. Maybe I'm
how could it be that bad?
I think of The Walking Dead.
That's crazy. Now I kind of want to watch it just to see how bad it is,
Right.
I'm just tapped out of Star Wars. Like it's fucking hard to get me back in. So.
It's so funny. That's how I feel about Marvel right now. And I never thought I'd say that. I'm such you can see Spider-Man right here. Like I love parts of Marvel, but like after Midnight Suns, I thought I had like a little bit of Marvel hype, but I watch AEW every Wednesday and Saturday. And for some reason, the recording I had just went on like an extra half hour. And so Infinity War started up. And my fiance and I were like, oh, fuck it. Like, we'll just watch a little bit of this and kind of reminisce. And we were trying to like piece together parts of the story. And we're like, this was such a good era. And then we're like, wow, they really fucked it up after.
They really fell off, yeah.
Like just everything in phase 4 felt. I think WandaVision was great. I really liked Loki, but otherwise, man, like it just felt like everything surrounding it was hot garbage.
I'm a She-Hulk defender.
Okay.
I'm a She-Hulk
Yeah, it's
defender.
funny. Actually, you know what? I did say that to her. She's like, yeah, they did She-Hulk. I was like, whoa. I said, I've heard people defend that and say it's actually good.
I
The
wouldn't say
trailers
it's like
felt totally
amazing,
off, but
like it's a cute little thing that like I think it didn't need to be tied into anything else, and they kind of don't do that, you know. So like it's not bad. I'm glad that it exists, and Miss Marvel too. But you know, besides that though, it's largely forgettable, right? And
the reason I liked Loki and WandaVision is they felt like they were actually going somewhere.
Well, yeah, I like them too. You know, don't get me wrong. So
yeah, I guess I can't speak too heavily on it because I don't know if when you watch She-Hulk and you finish it up, you're like, oh, this is where they're going next, right? Like, but that's
no, there's nothing like that in She-Hulk at all. So.
That's exactly my point. Like, that's the thing I really liked about WandaVision and Loki is like, especially Loki, the season finale. I'm like, whoa! I was like, okay, we're going a little crazy with this, but
yeah. If you're looking for a plot advancement, She-Hulk is a waste of time for sure. So.
Okay, I'm not gonna touch that shit.
Yeah.
Last bit of news, then we'll talk about what games we're playing here. Epic First Run has been revealed. It's a opt-in exclusivity program that gives developers a boost in net revenue share from 88% to 100% in the first 6 months as an Epic Game Store exclusive. So this is where I say the power of Fortnite is real. They're just giving money away at this point. If you opt in for an exclusivity clause, which I'm pretty sure I've never interacted with Epic in a game development environment, but I imagine that this is something that would still net you a chunk of change separately from all of that. If you were to say like, okay, we're not going to go on Steam. We're going to go on Epic only. But I still thought it was worth covering as an indie dev. I just find it really interesting to see Epic continues to be, I think, one of the most competitive ones out there in trying to get developers paid more. Especially in the first 6 months, that's definitely the bulk of your sales. So I thought this was some pretty noteworthy news here, Gene. Any thoughts on Epic's First Run program?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've known Tim Sweeney for a few years, and it sounds like really aligned with his philosophy. You know, he really hates the payment systems. That's one thing that him and Elon Musk do agree on. You know, in terms of like the Apple monopoly. So he is at least walking the walk. You know, so it's nice to see.
I agree. Yeah. So we'll see who takes advantage of this. Obviously, the exposure is important too. So as long as Epic Game Store continues to grow, I think people will be, or developers, I should say, will be just fine signing that exclusivity agreement. All right, Gene, let's talk about what we're playing. You and I have pretty massive lists here, but since you are our guest, if you will, I'd love for you to go first. I'm going to close my window while you get started.
Yeah. I think it's funny. I was joking with you and Cog that this segment would be really funny because it would just be a lot like that gif of Puff Daddy and that other dude just kind of staring at each other and not really saying anything because we're NDA dudes right now, you know.
Yeah, we are NDA dudes. We're beta boys.
So obviously I'm playing Starfield. But enough about that, I guess. Armored Core 6 reviews came out this week or this morning, right on Wednesday.
Yes. Can I read a write-in real quick?
I cannot finish the game in time for a review because I got the Starfield code like 2 days later after I got the code for Armored Core 6. So I will, you know, I've already wrote out like a mini article on my Twitter Blue or my X Blue or X Pro, I guess. That's what they're calling it now. And I thought it was good. It's really, I thought it was really hard, but I saw other reviews from other critics say that, you know, they thought it was, you know, pretty breezy. So maybe I'm just game journalist bad. I don't know. Who fucking knows? But I really struggle with the game, but maybe I just wasn't in the right like mindset for it. But you know, like I love Armored Core games, you know. So like for me, this was like a really good return to form for the series, and I'm just glad to see that, you know, it's got an 88 on Metacritic. I'm super happy to see that. Yeah. You know, like we're not having like an IGN from the 2010s eras where they were giving really good games like fucking 3 out of 10 and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like what the fuck is wrong with you guys? You know. So it's nice to see like people actually like appreciate this game now, and I feel like, you know, now I think now that FromSoft has earned their pedigree and earned the respect, I think people are able to look at their games and be like, you know what, maybe we were missing something, you know? Because I always think about how Shuhei Yoshida just fucked things up for PlayStation and just said, you know, no Demon's Souls. Demon's Souls is a terrible game. What are you talking about? You know?
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that he regretted that. But it's like, yeah, like that. A lot of people have slept on Demon Souls, and like I was there day one because I've just been a huge FromSoft fan since the beginning for all of their games. Um, Fucking Otogi, the Xbox exclusive,
I have that on my
Ninja
shelf. I
Blade,
gotta play
also
it.
Xbox exclusive, So
Yeah.
FromSoft has had a pretty good relationship with Xbox over the years too, which is interesting. So
I wanted to ask you this question here from Alex Dies Twice about
yeah.
Armored Core. Hello, Gene and Matty. Saw Gene's first impressions of Armored Core on Twitter. I wanted to ask if he felt any influence of recent From Software titles like Sekiro or Bloodborne in any of the recent encounters of the game. Additionally, if there have been any bosses he had encountered so far that people will be talking about, like Millennia or the Headless Ape, did for their respective games. Best, Alex. And yeah, I'd like to know more about this because I had a review code for this since like the 14th,
Mm-hmm.
and certain certain games came in and took my mind away a bit. So you'll have to
Sure.
pardon me that I didn't get my impressions out. Although I think Bandai either made a mistake or I guess gave creators a different embargo because I was told the 24th. So when my friends were talking in chat, they're like, "Yo, check it out! Like Armored Core 6 is pretty good." I'm like, "How the fuck do you guys know?"
Mm.
Like, so I guess press got to go first. So Gene, congrats on your early access, dude. I hope you're happy. But of course, to Alex's question here, did you see any influence from past FromSoft titles that perhaps most gamers nowadays are more familiar with compared to Armored Core?
I did. There is a stagger meter, very similar to Sekiro. You want to get that stagger, or like Final Fantasy 13, even where you want to get that stagger meter down, hit the weak point for massive damage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's essentially what you're doing. Once you're staggered, like that is when you have to get in your hits, and you need to like make sure that your guns are loaded, your missiles are loaded. Because if you miss that window of time, then you're fucked, and then you're only taking away a sliver and you're wasting time. So once you hit that stagger, you need to unload everything you got, and you need to make sure that you're ready for that moment. And also in terms of there's additional encounters he has encountered so far. I think it's a lot more like Sekiro in that, with Elden Ring, you can always like level up to beat the boss. Like if you can't beat the boss, go grind for a couple hours or maybe even a few days, and eventually you're going to be over leveled and you're going to be able to take down that boss. In Sekiro, you couldn't do that because you were just locked in. You had to figure out how to like parry that boss.
Right.
That's the same way in Armored Core. Like there's no way to like grind through and like, oh, like I'm just gonna like earn more, like upgrade my parts. No, you earn more money to buy more parts, but the parts aren't like getting stronger. Like the parts will have different functions, different strengths, different weaknesses, and that's the game where you if you hit a wall, you need to figure out why you're dying, and then you go back to the garage and you address that problem of why you're dying. Are you too slow? Then figure out a way to move faster. If you're not hitting hard enough, the plasma hard enough, then you need to throw more plasma in there.
So a lot of
That
tweaking of
kind
the
of thing.
mech itself, rather.
Hmm?
So like a lot of tweaking of the mech itself instead.
Yeah. That's why the joke was what people on Reddit were like, well, why are they only putting ray tracing in the garage? That's crazy. Because that's just the place where we're going to spend the time the least. And it's like, that's how you know that person has never played Armored Core, because the place that you spend the most time is in the garage. That is like 70% of the game. Like you gotta go out there, you gotta figure things out, you gotta study your build, and you're like, okay, I'm ready. And then that's what I did. That's how I beat the bosses. Where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna earn more money. I'm gonna buy these other parts. I'm gonna buy this rocket launcher. I'm gonna buy these tank treads and armor myself up, and maybe I can take more hits and see where that goes. Because like a lot of these bosses, like you can't like get hit. Also, like this is the type of game where like if I got hit like twice, I'm like, fuck it, I'm restarting because like I know the rest of the run is fucked at that point,
Okay, interesting. So it does have that kind of punishment of a FromSoft game.
Yeah, it's a FromSoft game. Like they're looking to kick your ass,
Okay, good. They're still trying to bully us. All right, good. Yeah. I like that.
So I'll play Armored Core 6. I've also been playing last year's Modern Warfare 2. Because I never really finished the story. So I finished the story because I was covering Modern Warfare 3. I actually had the exclusive details on the single player campaign, which was nice. Ooh. And they're expanding the story, but also turning it into a more sandbox type play, which is evocative of Advanced Warfare, right? Which was such a great game, but they really didn't do a lot with the sandbox there. It was really small areas, and it sounds like Modern Warfare 3 is going to be a lot bigger than that. So some good old Call of Duty. Also, I re-downloaded all the old the Modern Warfare trilogy for and Black Ops on Xbox 360 because all the servers were
Same
back
here.
up.
Yep.
So I was really excited to kind of dive back into those games. And then just on a cursory level, I'm toying with the Red Dead Redemption version on the Switch, the Switch version of Red Dead Redemption. Mostly because I think it's kind of cool to play it on the Switch, and I
How does it
actually
look visually? Does it look up to
looks
stuff?
great. Looks great.
Wow.
Digital Foundry said it's on par with the PS4 version, other than it's not 4K.
Wow.
So that's about it though. But the shadows, textures, everything is running fine. It runs very perfectly smooth at 30 frames per second. And it's kind of cool because Red Dead Redemption used to be my favorite game of all time. So I'm just like, it's dropped precipitously since then. But I still think it's Rockstar's best game ever.
Yeah, it's got a very special feel to it when you play, especially with the DLC. I just played Undead Nightmare for the first time.
No shit. Oh, that's right. I saw the video. Yeah, or I saw the thumbnail for it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just did that over on Retro Rebound, and it was definitely like I have been largely disconnected, infamously so, from what Rockstar does. Like I have played GTA 5, I've played Red Dead. Bully is my favorite game from them, but like I have not played GTA 3, Vice City. I did play San Andreas. Way too young, probably, by the way. Didn't play 4, any of 4's DLC.
Oh man, 4
so
is
like I missed out on this whole era of Rockstar where I feel like people's love for them really grew. And so when I played Undead Nightmare, I kind of got what people were talking about for a moment, because that is the last DLC they ever did in that traditional sense. Like we've seen them do DLC, if you will, like updating in GTA Online, but like when I played it and I saw like the Sasquatch DLC and I killed one of the Sasquatch and it said 6 years in the making, I was like, oh, this was when there was like the GTA San Andreas myths about Sasquatches being in the game.
Yeah.
And they were carrying that over into Red Dead. I was like, this was a different era of Rockstar. And like, it's just so, I don't think they're doing a wrong thing here with Red Dead 2. It's another Rockstar game I did play. I don't think they're doing anything wrong with how they're conducting business with GTA Online. Like, they're making them tons of money and they can take time with games now. But there was something special about that era of Rockstar I'm seeing, where it was like they were very creative and different. So I see what you mean about Red Dead being like their best game ever, because it is a special game, especially the ending. It's like there was really no one doing that at that time, like how dramatic and heart-wrenching it really was.
Yeah, and then the new game plus features at the end, like that was you and I were talking about interesting new game plus games. That was a game that did new game plus, or at least a post game, so interesting, and like you're right that there was a spirit of playfulness and energy and creativity that you don't really see right now. And Red Dead 2 is like so self-serious, and it feels like such a different game than Red Dead 1 was, even. So
yeah, although Red Dead 2. Somehow, the biggest piece of credit I give Red Dead 2 is like, I know how this is going to end, but somehow I cared.
Yeah.
Somehow I cared, like the whole way through. I just think it was way too long.
Way too fucking long. The whole fucking the Isle of blah, blah, blah was just awful. And, like it made me like dislike Dutch Van Halen as a character. Like, not even like, really? Wow. I dislike him as a character, but like, no, I just wanted him to shut the fuck up.
I have a plan, Arthur.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's why it became a meme, because it was so fucking annoying, because it was just way too fucking long,
I don't know if you agree. I thought that my big problem with Red Dead 2 was really that there were characters in the gang I was really interested in that I feel didn't get enough time on screen. And then they just got, and I was like, well, I thought you looked cool. Like, I wanted to learn more, but guess our time's over.
Yeah, it is interesting though that Red Dead 2 does kind of make the story for Red Dead 1 kind of resonate more.
Yes,
because when I restarted playing it, I was like, oh, there's Bill Williamson. How sad, actually, that we used to be so tight and now we're like this. That's crazy, actually. So it's interesting. So for people who only play Red Dead 2, I actually highly recommend that you go back to Red Dead 1, because this is the sequel, man. This is Red Dead 2, actually.
Really it's so funny you put it that way, because it's so true. Yeah, Red Dead's I still feel like Rockstar never expected that series to be as popular as it was, just based off where they set the world and the timeline. Like, they can't really move forward with it. That's why they made Red Dead 2 take place before the first Red Dead, because I just feel like if they moved it forward, it's like you lose that Wild West vibe. You're like right at the end in that.
Yeah, then it just,
that's what
you're
makes
just
it so
LA
special.
Noir at that point, basically.
Yeah, it's like, then that's not Red Dead. So
yeah, that's not Red Dead anymore. It's just LA Noir, or Mafia.
I
or
mean, I
something,
wouldn't hurt.
you
I
know?
wouldn't kill, or I wouldn't complain for another L.A. Noir. I thought that game was great too.
I loved it. So
I would love more shooting in that game though. My casual brain needs that.
yeah,
All right, Gene. I've been playing a couple games myself for review.
yeah, man.
Bomb Rush Cyberpunk.
Yes.
This was one that took me away from. There were like stages to when I was getting these review codes that were taking me away from Armored Core 6. I guess it all worked out, right? Because now we got all of them covered here on Duke. Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, for those who don't know, is coming from Team Reptile. This is a team that made Lethal League Blaze, and their style and flair, artistically, musically, very much Jet Set Radio, unapologetically so. So Bomb Rush Cyberpunk has been at the top of my most anticipated games for a long while. And probably a lot of people don't know that because a lot of my content I make doesn't really base around Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, but anytime it was like in a showcase, like I went on about it. It just looked really good. And it felt like they did a study of, hey, what is Jet Set Radio doing right and wrong? And let's do that. So I had a lot of high hopes for it. When I got my review code, I leaped right on it. I played it on Steam. I was blown away, Gene. I was really surprised at, number one, how good the story is. Like, this game actually has a legitimately interesting narrative.
Yeah.
Which I never really associated much with Jet Set Radio. I thought of the graffiti, the art, the music, and everyone dancing in place, right? Like, that was kind of Jet Set
Radio was just a gang war, you know?
Yeah. And it was great for what it was, especially back then. But like with Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, I'm thinking like, okay, you're probably going to let the story go to the wayside. Like, no. If y'all pick this up, like, expect a good story. I'll just tease that, like, your character's not who you think they are.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stories about a sense of identity and the gangs that patrol New Amsterdam, the location you're in for this game, are hilarious. Like, you have the old heads is one example. And it's like these guys who are obviously much older, and they kind of dictate the rules of the gangs and kind of oversee things. Like, they're the holders of the gang laws. So there's a little bit of like cheesiness and stuff in there, but the actual story itself is really surprisingly good and dark. It goes some crazy places. Like, I know in the trailers, it's very much Jet Set Radio and psychedelic, and you're like, all right, it's not going to do anything crazy here narratively, but it does. It really does. Cool. Like, if you go in and pick it up, you should expect it, which is one of the best surprises about the game. Because
that's cool to hear. I started it on the Switch, and I just really wanted to get a feel for like the movement, and I was like, "Oh, I can't fucking wait! I can't wait to finish Starfield so I can actually dig my teeth into this one because the movement feels so good." Exactly. Which is a criticism of Jet Set Radio because like the controls there were a little bit crazy, you know, because they were still figuring out how to move it in 3D that fast. You know,
totally agree. Because like the camera movement wasn't great. I don't know if I'm remembering wrong. I thought they mapped the tricks to the right thumbstick, but it may have been the face buttons, but the right thumbstick didn't rotate because they were still figuring out the camera. And you put it perfectly. You set me up perfectly here. Like, the gameplay in Bomb Rush Cyberpunk feels way better than I ever expected it would. It's simple, right? You have a couple of face buttons for tricks, but the way you can put together strings and gain momentum and speed by leaning towards rails, like, you can't, like Tony Hawk, fall off the rail. But if you're, say, turning right and you lean your left thumbstick to the right, your character's going to turn that corner, go even faster. The score multiplier is going to go up. And you're doing all these tricks and graffiti on the wall, just like Jet Set. And the goal is to gain reputation in this district to then do missions with these rival gangs and eventually take over New Amsterdam. So, like, the narrative design works really well with the zone space. And what I have to say impressed me the most is that the activities you do are very original, I feel. Like, there's one where you're going to grind a rail and there's going to be this, I think it's the Team Reptile logo with like a hand sticking out, and you give them a high five. But there's like 6 across the whole district.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And if you fall and touch the ground, you have to restart. And so you have to high five all of them while keeping the string alive. And you'll unlock skins like spray paints. You'll unlock new graffiti. You'll unlock new music, which the music in this game is stellar. Like, it's
yeah. My buddy Wooly is on the Two Mellow soundtrack. Wooly of podcast Castles to Rupees.
Really?
So he's doing like ad libs, going you know, on one of the tracks. So it's a trip to hear him.
Yeah, it's the soundtrack's amazing. That's the thing. It's very unapologetically jet setting in, and that's what this game is. Like, if you are a Jet Set fan, you probably already know about this game. But if you were on the fence, like, let me tell you, it's not just like, oh, we like Jet Set. Like, it is the sequel to Jet Set Radio Future and everything that you've been waiting for, and then some. Like, it's that good, especially when you get the bike, you get your rollerblades, like you get to switch what you want. They all control the same, but they kind of have these idiosyncrasies that make them feel different and let you explore different areas in separate ways. There's combat in the game that looks really good, and it feels good enough because the boss fights are really creative. Like, this game will subvert your expectations everywhere. Like, it's low key creeping up into that top games of the year list for me, like top 5 maybe. And I'm like,
it's great to hear.
It's really good. Like, it's
the
not just
blending between the tricks is really nice too. You know, they did a really good job there. I haven't played. It sounds like you played a lot more than I did, so I'm super excited to get back into it.
I that's the thing. I picked it up and I was thinking, like, kind of what I was doing is I had 4 games to review. I talked about this on Defining Duke. I had 4 games to review, and when I picked it up, it was more like I'm looking for the one I can drop, kind of like, what can I comfortably drop and not review. And when I played it, I fell in love right away. I was like, I got to talk about this. Like, I got to let everybody know about this. So I produced a review for Retro Rebound. I want to talk about it here. Like, this game rules. Bomb Rush, Cyberpunk, Switch, PC. It's coming to Xbox and PlayStation soon. Not much longer now. We'll keep you appraised on those details. But I was playing that. And then over on I'm playing Starfield, by the way, too. Like I said at the top of the show, the review impressions from the Dukes along with Gene will be August 31st, 12 p.m. Eastern time. So that's when our episode's going to go live to everyone for free. So no Patreon or anything like that. So anyone listening or a fan of the Dukes will be able to hear our thoughts together.
Plan for it. It should be a doozy.
Yes, it's going to probably be our biggest episode of the year. I'm very excited for it.
Oh yeah. Glad to be part of it.
Yeah, I really appreciate you joining us for that. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think. We're going to have so much to say about it. So with that, last game I've been playing, Immortals of Avium. Last game I'm playing that I can talk about. So this is from the EA Originals program, which has kind of reinvented itself. With, you look at Wild Hearts versus something like they did originally with A Way Out. And you're just like, okay, they're scaling things up here. They're putting more budget behind this thing. And EA is clearly believing in single player games because Immortals of Avium is through and through a single player magic first person shooter. And good palate cleanser. It's a good game. I wouldn't go to great if you care about story. If you only care about gameplay, this actually may be great. Immortals of Avium is a pretty condensed, I'd say like 12 to 15 hour story. Not really open world or anything, like pretty linear. It reminds me a lot of, we've been talking a lot about 360 games. It reminds me of that era, really. Like, it does, just kind of crazy, cool ideas of what if you could have a first person shooter with just magic. How would that work? And have a really bombastic world as the backdrop. That's what Immortals of Avium totally is. I think what sucks, though, for me at least, is as someone who's pretty big on narrative, I thought with Immortals of Avium, the biggest disappointment was they had a really cool world that wasn't convoluted with like terms. Like, it was pretty easy to follow, but the characters, it was really the acting that was surprisingly dragging it down for me, especially when you saw like Gina Torres in it and stuff. I was like, okay, this should help lift things up, but it's, you know what it is, Gene, man. And I don't know where you stand on it, but I just feel like we're in a really bad spot for voiced main characters right now. Like, I feel that's why RPGs are on the rise, because no one is getting voiced main characters down right. Like, they're all obnoxious, annoying. They're trying to sound way cooler than they are. And that's coming from someone who's totally uncool. Like, they're really fucking it up consistently. I think of games like Forspoken, Atlas Fallen. I think of Atomic Heart. Like, no one's checking the writers anymore, I don't think. And I'm not saying it like I'm the best writer in the world. I'm sure people have stuff to say about my writing when my game comes out, and that's totally fine. But I'm seeing how these main characters are written. I'm just like, what is happening? And Immortals of Avium is just another one on that list to me. And it's frustrating because it does hurt the experience. There's this, I think, this very grounded belief. I'm going to assume a little bit, so pardon me. But as a player who cares about story, I get this feeling like there's this belief in game development that gameplay can overrule everything. And I say no. I'm like, to me, I feel if your story sucks or if your characters are nauseatingly annoying, you're ruining the whole thing, man. It's like being around a really talented person with a toxic personality. It's like, I don't care how good you are at what you do. No one wants you on the team, bro. And it reminds me a lot of that here. Where I just feel over and over and over, we're seeing the same problem crop up, and I don't get why. But I don't want to go on too long about that. I just want to say that this is a big problem with the game, in my opinion. But the gameplay, when it's all clicking together, works really well. Like Immortals of Avium does feel like a good time when you're swapping. It reminds me of Doom. Like your fingers are all over the controllers. You're
That's
taking
cool.
out a new tool to kind
That's
of
cool.
target an enemy weakness, whether you're stunning them, slowing them down, using green magic, red magic. It's all determined on a color palette of weaknesses. And it's a good time for sure. Like I gave it away for a sale. Like if you're going to play it, I'd say $40 and you will not be disappointed at all. But I think it's 60, 70. I think people will be a little bit upset with Immortals of Avium, just not as forgiving of their flaws. But it is a good time. And if you're looking for a good palate cleanser, kind of amidst all the big, bombastic, long-term games, Immortals of Avium might be a good option for you. But I definitely think this is like a very Black Friday type game. Just get on in there, pick it up in the bargain bin. It'll probably be $30. You won't regret it. So those have been the games I'm playing, Gene.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like games are just really having this like these are all the children of Nolan North and Nathan Drake, where everyone's just trying to be too cool and having the right thing to say at every right moment. It's just like, shut the fuck up! Oh my god, you know.
I feel you, bro. It's been.
Yeah, I did hear that AVM has like MCU dialogue.
Yes, that's a very good way of putting it. Yes, very much so. Like we don't talk about. I love the MCU. Okay, like I know I'm not watching much Marvel now, but I love that era that we all experienced leading up to Endgame. I don't think we talk enough about the generational impact it's going to have on our writing. Every game is written like Marvel now, and it's kind of scaring me a bit.
Yeah, I heard there's more Marvel than Square Enix's Eidos' Guardians of the Galaxy game, which was like not that bad.
Not Marvel at all.
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah,
like that game was pretty touching. Actually,
it was
like,
good. Yeah, I was completely moved by it. You know,
yeah,
it was crazy.
I wasn't even. I'm not even a Guardians of the Galaxy fan, really. Like that was a really.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan either. I'm not really a fan of the IP. I whatever. I was expecting. I went into that game thinking, whatever, and then I was like, wait, I love these characters. You know,
it's the most co-op single player game. That's what I call it. Like the way it plays.
It was cool.
Stuff.
Yeah.
All right, we got a cool question here from RK128. I think I may have used you twice, RK128. I apologize if to the audience if I did. I try not to double up too often here. But anyway, you had a good write in here. We're going to talk a lot about Starfield and review codes and embargoes and stuff. And I thought this was a more businessy question. I love answering these. So welcome to the realm of the Dukes, Gene. How does it feel to handle embargoes? Obviously, right now you're dealing with this with Starfield, but how are you juggling so many games? Chime in too, Matty, since you're just as busy right now. Sail the Stars and Cognito's good steed good stirs. So I wanted to get your take on this, Gene, because I know you play just as many games as us, and it's a lot to balance, with the full-time job and everything. So how do you handle embargoes? How do you deal with all the games on your plate and balance it all out? Is it easier with a team? Let me know.
Yeah, well, it was easier with a team until they fucking laid them all off in January, right?
Yeah,
so it would be nice if I had another person, like for example, reviewing, Immortals of Avium or even Armored Core. Like I would have gladly just passed up like not reviewing Armored Core if someone else could do it. So how do I handle it? I just have to pick and choose, and I sadly have to prioritize what I think would be the games that most people would be talking about. Because my editors don't know anything about video games. Like I have to tell them what Zelda is,
Wow.
So like it's to that level of like, like they don't understand the difference between the Xbox and the PlayStation. So I have to like explain things in the most baby terms. Like it's like I'm talking to an alien, when I'm explaining video games. So I mean that's like a blessing and a curse in that like I can choose to manage my own time, and I can just be like, what, maybe, I would tell them like I really want to cover this game Armored Core because I have a long history with it, and I think people would be really interested to hear from me what I think of it. But I always have to acknowledge I don't think that a lot of people are going to read that article. It's going to be a very niche audience that's going to be into that, versus a game like, I just did the preview for Modern Warfare 3, and that was one of the best read stories on the Washington Post, period, in the past week. So obviously because Modern Warfare 3 is Call of Duty, so people were going to read that. A shit ton of people read my Zelda coverage, but I can see it where like less people read my Resident Evil 4 coverage, even less people read my Final Fantasy 16 coverage. So like
Uh-oh.
I'm seeing the tiers of like when something is able to break through into like
Mm.
the mainstream audience or whatever, and of course I'm choosing to cover Starfield above all else because I think one, it's an important game for the Xbox. I have to cover it.
Yeah.
And two, I think it's going to be a huge game. Like I think a ton of people are going to be playing it, and people are going to be talking about it. So you know that's how I juggle things now. If I had a team, obviously it'd be much easier, and I wouldn't be as stressed. But
Mhm.
like I'm stressed about playing Baldur's Gate 3 because I know that that's probably the best game of the year. And I played 5 hours of it, and I know that it's
Yeah.
such a well constructed, like such a meticulously constructed game. It's like a Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah.
You just know when you see it, you know that damn, that's a good fucking game.
Mm.
So I have to play Baldur's Gate 3, which is 100 hours, and it's coming at the same time as Starfield. My PC
Yeah.
doesn't really run Baldur's Gate 3 that well, so it's like, you know what? I think I'll just do the cross save, bring my character over for my 5-hour character over for the PC to the PlayStation 5. It's really
Smart.
sad that it's not coming on the Xbox because I would have preferred to play it on the Xbox,
Yeah.
especially since I'm playing the PC version. I use Xbox controllers on PC.
Mm.
I just feel like it just makes more sense on the Xbox platform. Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
That's fair.
so yeah, that's how I do it.
Yeah, I think you and I are kind of in the same boat. I feel like that's the price you end up paying when your voice has a lot of value. Not to like
Mhm.
stroke our egos here too much, but I think like that's the reality of it is like, like I'm not advocating that like, oh, thank God Gene doesn't have a team, but it's more like you have a voice that stands out amongst a lot of journalisms where like a lot of that trust is being shred away, right? And so I feel like when we're in that position, me and Cog always call them business decisions, right? Like you
Mhm.
gotta make the right balance of like, I got to play what my heart wants to play. I also want to play what's good for my audience, but I have to play what's good for me personally to want to make content in general. So if
Mhm.
and for you, I'm sure the pressure is even
Mhm.
higher because it's like, you're almost like the last one standing. It sounds like in this gaming division, it's like, I gotta put the numbers up because if I don't, who knows what happens afterwards, right? So
Mhm.
it's commendable how you've balanced it all, and certainly I can sympathize and really understand the pressures that you face because like, are you able to do like impressions like, oh, I played Armored Core 6, like can you put together an article and put out impressions on there, or is it more like you just kind of want to go for
No, I
slam
can't
dunks?
because they don't see the value. Because for some reason, I have to explain to people that there is an infinite amount of internet,
Mm.
and so like I'm not gonna like run out of like space on the internet, But I
Mhm.
work for a fucking newspaper where they're still thinking about fucking fitting things in a page, and then
Yep.
sometimes I have to remind people like no, there's actual like infinite space on the internet. I could write however I want, however long I want on Armored Core 6. But
Okay.
that's a whole other conversation that I'm too exhausted to even have. So
I
yeah.
get it. Yeah, I get it. Because for me, I was gonna say the benefit I have is there are certain games like the concept. I'll see how it goes with Starfield because it worked really well with Baldur's Gate 3. I don't want to make it a constant thing.
Hmm.
Is for certain games that I think are going to be massive that I know I'm not going to finish no matter how much crunch I put into it ahead of the embargo, is trying to do like a two-tiered release of like impressions after X hours and then the final review sort
Hmm.
of down the stretch. And you just
Yeah.
got to like, right, that's where you have to really trust your audience because the reality is like day one embargo lifts, like that's your biggest window to get views. Like
Hmm. Yeah,
anyone,
absolutely.
I've seen people on the internet try to tell me till I'm blue in the face, like, no, that's a lie. I'm like, you're fucking lying to me. Like that, I
Hmm.
have never seen that not be true. That
Hmm.
like when the embargo lifts, you get the most views, which is why
Hmm.
everyone tries to rush to hit it.
Hmm.
But obviously that doesn't always work well for the consumer. And that doesn't work well for like me. Like I'm sick as fuck right now. Like as much as I'm trying to put hours into Starfield, like I've been going to sleep at like 9 p.m., which is very not much not Matty. It's
That's
like that,
crazy. Yeah.
right? I'm like, I'm upset when I'm going to bed. I'm like, man, like I look at the clock. I'm like, that's at least 4 hours of like Starfield I could be throwing in right now.
Yeah.
And time is everything when you're reviewing. So that's
Yeah.
really what I'm getting at. It's not like, oh,
Especially a
well, I'll
game
be
like
playing it.
Starfield.
It's
Yeah.
just, but like, yeah, every hour counts because you don't have guides. You can't go on howlongtobeat.com and just get a gauge. It's like, I'm out here on my, it's exciting, but it's like, I'm out here on my own. I have maybe a couple reviewers to talk to get like a feel like, hey, how long is this?
Hmm.
Maybe. Most times
Hmm.
I don't.
Hmm.
And so like every single hour counts. And so what I've tried to figure out is like what works with juggling all these embargoes. And so it's been impressions and then in full review later. I did it with Baldur's Gate 3. I'm going to do it with Starfield. And hopefully it becomes a thing that kind of works. And I hope that's something you can eventually incorporate into your wheelhouse, Gene, and that the powers that be would allow it, because I think it would promote more traffic for you. I think it would definitely give you more room to spread your wings without feeling like, yo, I gotta smash this game through. Like I gotta finish this in like 30 hours in 3 days. Like we certainly, as a reviewer, we get put under some crazy time constraints. They've gotten better, like getting Starfield 2 weeks ahead of the early access release.
That was very nice. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. I was getting
Baldur's Gate 3, we got like 3 days, fucking 4 days before the release. I was like, okay, we're none of us are finishing this.
Exactly. So. It's a good way to expose people who are going to lie and call stuff reviews, though. So there's a benefit to that. Let's stick with review codes. We got the second right in here, and then we'll get into the news. Justin Robinson writes, "Hey Dukes, are we past the age of needing reviews? Bethesda posted Starfield went gold and set out a lot of review codes. Then the worst thing happened. The leaks started pouring in. What do you think Bethesda thinks about this? And how is this going to change the typical review process? It's a shame a few bad eggs ruin it for everyone. Honestly, Baldur's Gate 3 had just posted a few reviews posted on Metacritic when it came out and proceeded to break Steam records. I'm starting to think most people aren't concerned with what the major outlets have to say about games in their reviews. I know reviews are the lifeblood of some sites and content creators, but I can honestly just hop on your YouTube stream of Starfield, watch you play it, ask if there are any bugs, then make my judgment if I want to buy the game. I'm not trying to be insensitive, so sorry if I come across that way. It just sucks having to stay completely off the internet for weeks just so I don't get spoiled. Appreciate you both very much. You're the best. Justin WV Harp Guitar on Discord and Twitter. #health as well. Thank you, Justin, for writing it. And for me, no offense taken. I don't want to speak for Eugene, but I imagine no offense taken. But what do you think about this take here where we're maybe moving past the age of reviews being needed? I've long thought that reviews are glorified opinions, right?
They are.
Always been the case. Like, I don't think when I make a retro rebound video and I get like a 200,000 views on, I did a Final Fantasy 15 video, like, hey, I played it in 2023. I don't think people are heavily weighing like a purchasing decision on that, like, or some of their old retro games. Some may, but I think most are just like, oh, this sounds interesting. Like, I'd like to hear his take on that. Like, oh, this is really well timed. 16's coming out. I want to hear about 15. Okay. Like, that's really it. But I feel like with day one reviews, I'm sure there's many more purchasing decisions being factored in. But with the era of streaming, do you think we're gradually going to get phased out where reviews won't be needed?
Well, I mean,
Baldur's Gate 3 was a great example you brought up earlier. Sorry, go on.
Which great example?
I was saying Baldur's Gate 3 was a great example. Those reviews codes came in super late. No one finished it, barely got impressions out, and the game did one of the best of the year.
Yeah, and as Justin points out, that it still went fucking gangbusters, like without any reviews help. So here's the thing, if you're looking to say our reviews worthless in terms of the purchasing power or the success of a game, then no, it isn't, right? But like you said, reviews are not only glorified opinions, but they're a way to talk about the game, and we love talking about games, right? So that's the value. If you want to read or watch a piece talking about a game that you're either interested in or you already know, because here's the thing, you don't have to read a review before you buy the game. You can read the review afterwards. It can help deepen your appreciation of the game. Because that's what happens when you talk about a game. You consider other perspectives, you consider other aspects of the game that you never even considered before. That's the value of a review, not whether you should buy it or not. Because I'm not gonna fucking tell, like if you're not Mr. Matty Plays, the Bethesda the YouTuber, is not gonna wait for me to tell you to buy Starfield. If you weren't reviewing Starfield already, you would have bought it regardless, right?
Yeah.
So in that case, the review is completely pointless. And I was thinking about this too as I'm playing Starfield. I'm just like, is this even a game that's reviewable? And I feel like I've already said too much in terms of saying that. But like, how much value is my review going to contribute to this? So I'm trying to find interesting things to say about Starfield, so that when people go into the experience or when people leave the experience and they read my review, they can consider certain features or aspects of the game that they didn't really think about before. Oh, did this work? Did that work? That kind of thing. I think that's where the value is.
Absolutely, because it's funny you say it that way because I never thought about it, but the way I always consumed reviews is whatever games I was interested in, I was picking up regardless, right? Like
Mhm.
even when I was in high school, no money, it's like, oh, Arkham City's coming out. Like I don't care what the reviews say. It's a new Batman game. Arkham Asylum was amazing. I want City.
Yeah.
But when I beat it, I first thing I always did when I was like not a reviewer, I'd go and watch and read every review I could find because you put it perfectly. It does deepen your appreciation, your understanding.
Mhm.
Sometimes you just like to argue with yourself. You're like, what kind of fucking take is that? Like
Exactly.
that was the thing I always did. And so now when I prepare my reviews, it's really about the long term. It's like what's gonna how do you look the least as someone who looked very dumb after Fallout 4? It's like, how do you prevent yourself from not looking like a complete moron long term? How thorough can you get with this, right? So if someone watched this 5-6 years down the line, they're like, wow, he was on his shit. That's
Mhm.
totally right. Like that's the best thing you can do for your review. And it goes back to like, well, then what am I making it for? I
Mhm.
imagine many people are deciding like, is it good or bad? But especially a Game Pass game, like it's I always phone it in on Game Pass games in the sense where I'm like, most of you are going to at least try this out, probably.
Yeah.
Like with Starfield, especially, it's like I know probably 99.9% of the Duke audience and probably 100% of my own is like, we're at least going to try it. Maybe
Mhm.
you try it through Game Pass or you buy it physically, whatever it may be. You're probably going to try it. So you just want to hear like my 2 cents, possibly. And I'm honored by that. Like that's the nicest thing ever because I think
Mhm.
it's like there's so many smarter people out there that I'm like, oh, you want to listen to me? Great. But it goes back to like, do you actually need reviews? And I think there's help there.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people lean into them because I think there's more traditional ones. Like I think Skill Up and Carrick is more like traditional
Yeah.
YouTube reviewers, like a whole verdict system and everything like that. Like a whole. In the case of Skill Up, we talked about in a video of mine together one time, like how he does his titles. Like it's just I recommend, I don't
Mhm.
recommend, I strongly recommend. You just
Mhm.
get the verdict right there.
Mhm.
Um, but you watch the video for the nuance, the depth of
Exactly.
thought.
You watch the video to hear his argument, you know,
Yeah.
you know, like the Republican debates are going on right now, and like, you know, I don't think anyone's gonna really. It's really gonna matter like who is gonna vote for what. But you listen to it because you want to hear their argument, you know.
Yeah.
Just like
We're
you
all
said,
humans
maybe you
rooted in
just
our
want to make
ways.
an argument with yourself too, you know. That's about it.
Yeah, we're stubborn, right? We're
Hmm.
stubborn.
So I hope that answers Justin's question, and
Yes.
I hope you keep reading reviews even after you've already played the game. You know, check them out because you might discover something new about yourself or the game or even the person you're listening to. You know,
Yeah. It's always about learning more, isn't it? Because
exactly.
that's like when I finished Silent. One of my favorite games to have watched reviews for after I beat it was Silent Hill 2. Like that
Hmm.
game and the reviews, like there were
Oh,
so
dude,
many moments. It was like, oh, what? I didn't know
dude,
that. Like
fucking all the video essays on Silent Hill 2. Come on, man. You know,
incredible. It's like one of the best games to watch YouTube videos on. If anyone
exactly.
hasn't, it's really good
It's a
stuff. So
great game to go down the rabbit hole into. Yeah, for
it's
sure.
funny because I never really do that anymore. I kind of miss doing it, but like I feel like if I consume too many of other
Hmm.
people's thoughts, I just contaminate what
Hmm.
my own would be. And so
No,
like
I watched your fucking Final Fantasy 13 review in 2023 because I was playing Final Fantasy 13. You know
there
that.
we go.
You know, like I
Timeless,
already made my
baby. That's what
decision
we
on
call
Final.
evergreen. Just
Exactly,
kidding, Duke.
exactly.
Hell yeah. All right. We got a opening night live, Gene. Shall we go through all that was there and just
Whew,
run
yeah,
them up,
let's
knock
do
them
it.
down? First off, someone rushed the stage again. Felt, felt like we should open up with that. So another gentleman rushed the stage this time saying Bill Clinton wants to play GTA 6. This dude was trying to be the Game Awards guy, clearly. It's starting to become a thing. And Gene, I'd love to get your thoughts on this one for starters on stage rushers here at the Keeleys, right? Now
Hmm.
opening it live at a stage rusher. We saw one last year. And my thoughts were just like, just to keep it quick, like the first one I was like, okay, we're lucky, nothing bad happened. It's
Of
kind of
course,
funny. It's a meme. Okay. But the fact that like I feel like they took even longer to get this dude off the stage, that Jeff was
dude.
walking around
Yeah.
trying to avoid him, and it was like a whole ordeal, man.
Hmm.
Um, I was very surprised that there wasn't a preparation like, hey, this could happen again.
Hmm.
Like we should probably try to avoid this. But what do you make about stage rushers starting to pollute the Game Award shows we're putting on?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest travesty is that this guy decided to take the stage and demand a game that we all know is fucking coming out. We all know GTA 6 is coming out. What the fuck are you going to accomplish by demanding GTA 6? We know it's happening, right? Why didn't you go up there and demand God Hand 2? or
Bully 2, you know.
Bully 2, or the revival of the Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver series, you know? Like, come on, you know? Like, why did you go up there and demand the most guaranteed game to ever come out in existence? You know? That's my first take. And my second take is, of course, like the safety issue. You know, I said this on X or whatever, that and I was retweeting a developer who said that it's going to be hard to get people on stage now. You know, like I thought Todd Howard, you know, he took the stage right afterwards. I thought he looked kind of a little bit frazzled. You know, he was like, "What the fuck is going on?" And you're right that the whole thing just was taking very long. And even if there's like security to, and I'm sure there's security to make sure that there's no weapons or whatever that being stuck into the venue, right? If there's not, then you better fucking do it for fuck's sake.
Better hope that's
but
there.
If I imagine that there's that layer of security there, even if the guy just went out there and punched Jeff or punched Todd Howard, that's still fucking traumatizing. Nobody wants to fucking go through that, you know. Mm-hmm. So I gotta wonder, is Jeff? I don't know how much the autonomy Jeff has in terms of like putting together the Gamescom Open Night Live show, and whether he has to work with the venue or not. But I have to imagine that the Game Awards this year is going to look way different, at least in terms of the stage presence. Put some fucking big dudes in front of the stage, you know. Get really aggressive, fucking tackle these guys, you know, like what they did with the guy who tried to punch Dave Chappelle, you know.
I think of it like the dudes who run into the field during baseball. Like,
exactly, yeah.
They get speared by these security guards, and they're like these college dudes trying to impress girls, and they get their shit rocked, dude. It's like, congrats, you got a fine, probably a jail sentence, and a broken bone,
fucking concussion,
to impress some girl who probably will never remember you, dude. Like, and just like that kind of punishment just needs to go into the Game Awards now. Like, let the viral moment be a security dude spearing a motherfucker right in front of Jeff, and just let that be it, because it's just now people are trying to make it a thing. It's starting to become a trend, and I'm just like you. Like, I don't mean to air the anxieties, but I do worry about the safety of people getting on stage, man. If it's that easy, they can run up, and honestly, the first dude's reaction was to block Jeff and the camera.
What the fuck was that? Yeah.
And I'm just like,
I don't know if he was with the dude or what. I don't know.
Yeah, I couldn't figure it out either. I get they were trying to like keep the camera off him and not give him attention, but just I don't know. It was like way too long, in my opinion. That was just a bad sign of the security there that they took.
You bring
so
up
long
a great comparison to baseball, right? Or even rock concerts. You know, like look at what happened when someone threw like splashed some water on Cardi B. The fucking bouncers dove in there and they just got that woman out. You know. Yeah. If we're going to be treating our developers like rock stars, you know, like they are, like people like Todd Howard. We know Todd Howard is a rock star. He's a rock god. He's like fucking Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin, you know. We're going to be treating our developers like rock stars, and we need to treat them like fucking rock stars. We need to treat them like the stars that they are in the athletic field, to protect the game, to protect the stars, to protect the players. Yeah, we need to do that, you know.
I agree.
And that's why I'm really surprised. So if the industry is going to grow up, then we gotta be careful, and we gotta acknowledge that there are fucking insane people in our audience too. You know,
100%.
Not you guys though. You guys are fine.
Everyone listening is great. You're all
we love you.
Appreciate you. We know you'd never rush the stage at an LSM event or anything. Next thing we got here, they opened the show with, you mentioned Todd Howard, Starfield, with a performance by Einon Zur. So we got a little bit of the sounds of Starfield. They showed a lot of planets off while this was all happening. Then we got a look at the live action trailer. Todd Howard himself was on stage, and as I wrote here in the notes, said a lot without really saying anything at all in the story. Just talked about how excited he was. We hope everyone gets a chance to play it. Jeff seemed pretty giddy on what he was playing for Starfield.
That's true. That was when he got interrupted as he was bragging about playing fucking Starfield.
That guy did not like that. So I know it's tough for us to talk about Starfield, but it made our job pretty difficult for at least a week here on Defining to talk about Starfield. But what did you make of really the live action trailer? I think that was like the main piece that was there, because nothing else was, newsworthy, I feel, outside of that. Everyone was looking for Starfield marketing. This was a big concern I saw the Defining Duke community was a little worried, like, are they going to market Starfield? And I said on my videos, I was like, give them till like the second half of August. I said, you're going to see so much Starfield, you're going to hide. And as we saw with Justin, people are starting to hide now. There's so much Starfield. So I thought the live action trailer was fantastic. I thought it really captured like the tone and atmosphere of wandering the stars, like that personal relationship with constellations. So what did you make of what was shown off to start the show?
I love the trailer. I loved it so much that it made me want to play Starfield. So I went back and played Starfield.
You're fucked up, man.
which is a fucked up thing to say to everyone listening right now. To put in tomorrow. And the fact that I watched the hype trailer and I was able to just like get my rocks off like immediately, you know.
So good.
But yeah, it's a great trailer, and like, look, like you're absolutely right, man. Like that's the value that you provide to the community and to folks like Defining Duke. Like it's never been a more important time than to be Mr. Matty Plays right now, you know.
Aww.
Because that's the context that you bring. Because like all these fucking people, like you guys are just like new to this, you know. Like Bethesda doesn't do this. They're not gonna market the game like a year in advance or whatever like that, which they did, I guess. But like they're not gonna like do a full on you know, full court press for it until the last few weeks, which you have always done for the past releases, you know. Yeah. So it's really nice that someone like you is out there to remind folks that, yeah, like just fucking calm down. This is like completely normal, you know. And that's like that's journalism, you know. You need journalists. If something crazy goes tonight in the GOP debate, and then you have a journalist to say, "No, that's totally how it's supposed to work," you know. That's what you provide, you know.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it because, like, yeah, I mean, that's what I tried to say to people because I felt like early on in Defining Duke, like we were talking about Halo and Forza Horizon, and I feel like I didn't have a chance to show off any of my strengths for the show because like everything that that was probably more suited to me, like, you know, Avowed, anything Obsidian, anything Bethesda, like was down the stretch. So like we were leaning into Chris, like, yo, let's talk Halo. Like we were trying to figure out all these ways. So I appreciate you saying that because like, yeah,
this is your time now. You know?
I guess so because I mean, I studied Bethesda for over a decade. Like they are a creature. I mean, most companies are, but like Bethesda is a very much like strict creature of habit. Like they were not going to deviate for Starfield. I guess they kind of did, as you mentioned, right? Like we got 15 minutes of gameplay last year, and like typically that would be it, really, maybe a little bit more. But the fact that we saw when you combine that with the direct, with all the inside the Starfield trailers, like when you look at the collection of like over an hour plus of visual content we got for Starfield, like they marketed the fuck out of this game. Like we've seen a lot, and you could tell that's the case because like when Todd got on stage here, like this dude did not say. We're talking about Todd Howard, by the way. We're talking about this dude who can never help himself but put out some type of teaser. This man didn't say shit up there that was going to bring you any new information about Starfield. I'll say as an insult, I love that they're guarding Starfield like it is this very well-kept secret because that's so hard to do. I mean, Insider Gaming leaked the achievements. We'll talk about that later. But
I missed that.
Anything within Bethesda's power, they are keeping this thing close to the vest. Like, it's not even like an embargo type thing. Like, just I can tell by the way they're talking about it now. Like, they just want the direct to do all of the talking. The animated trailers have 3 million views each. Like, they're getting out there. And again, I
gotta watch the animated trailers. That's right. I completely missed those. Now that I'm in the game, because I didn't want to watch them because I didn't want to spoil. Like I didn't know what the fuck Constellation was. You know. So
really? You kept yourself really in the dark.
Yeah, I was really. Well, I watched like the direct to watch the gameplay. I was really interested in the gameplay, but in terms of the lore, I've been like pretty much in the dark. So
yeah, they put like a whole timeline out and stuff. Like I've been all in it, but as someone who's been tracking it all. Like they just really haven't spoiled shit. Like they've done an amazing job guarding Starfield.
And, so that's why like today they were tweeting out the timeline stuff, and I'm like looking at it like now with the knowledge of like the actual game, I'm just like, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like that backdrop does matter, right? So
the story does matter, you know.
Yeah, story does matter in video games. So. That's probably enough Starfield talk before we break NDA here. We're going to have to move on. It's just getting too dicey here.
It was really, really tricky, really rough ground here. So we're just going to move on right here.
We do not want to lose access. All right. Next here on the list, Little Nightmares 3 got a reveal come from Bandai 2024. I've never played Little Nightmares, but to see it's getting a third entry shows that there's something here, and it looks really good, kind of co-op spooky action. Have you played any Little Nightmares before?
I haven't, and I've always been kind of interested. I miss the 2D platformer age. You know, your limbos and
Mm,
your insights and stuff like that. And I feel like it would be a really good palate cleanser. So I think I will revisit, or not, will visit for the first time. Little Nightmares 1 and 2, and yeah, I can't believe there's already. When I saw 3, I was like, holy shit! Like they're fucking moving fast on this series.
I
'Cause I feel
know.
like
Like when
part,
was the first one? I feel like we just saw two last year.
yeah, I feel like part 2 just fucking came out. Like what?
Hold on, Little Nightmares 2. One release date was 2017. So when was two? Two is 2021. So yeah, they did move
2021, yeah.
quick.
Okay, yeah. So
Yeah,
pretty recent, you know? Because I feel like I only saw streamers like playing it, so I feel like it'll be
yeah.
a good streamer hit too. Because streamers really enjoyed those games too, and I've watched them. They are really fucking creepy. So
Okay, cool. I like
yeah,
that. Creepy and co-op go well together. I don't
yeah,
really see enough of that. Yeah, I really want to check it out because my friend speaks highly of him. So
yeah. Congratulations to them to make it this far to number 3, and that's
yeah,
awesome.
right.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Bandai must really believe in it to keep greenlighting them. So
yeah.
2024, more Little Nightmares on the way. Next thing we saw there, Gene, Black Myth Wukong.
Hmm.
No release date window or anything like that, but we got a decent look at the gameplay here. And I remember when we first saw this, there was kind of that, oh, is this real type game?
2020 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. But now, kind of cooling off on it after this recent showing. I wonder how are
Mhm.
you feeling about Black Myth
I
Wukong?
am also cooling off on it. And I tweeted and I deleted it because I just didn't want to deal with the drama. But I tweeted that I feel like, you know, all Souls-like games, like the thunder has been kind of stolen by Elden Ring.
I
Like
agree.
like we've already played Elden Ring, you know?
Yeah.
So so what are you gonna bring new to the table? Obviously the graphics are a lot better than Elden Ring, and like it looks like much more action heavy, you know, a little bit more closer to like Sekiro or Devil May Cry than anything. But at the same time, like, you know, Elden Ring provided so much, you know, so I don't know what the boss encounters are going to provide here. So I do feel like it's taken so long, and the fact that it still doesn't have a release date, I got something to say. You know, I love that we're getting so many games from like China and Korea, especially, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm Korean, so I'm happy to see that, but my Koreans working. But there are so many fucking Korean projects that have been announced for like the last few years, and none of them have fucking release dates. I'm like, when are you guys finishing? When are you guys planning to finish these games? When is Dokevi coming out? For fuck's sake, you know?
Oh yeah, man. You're not wrong. There's definitely a lot of, especially. I feel like
I'm
that's the case
Korean, so I
with
can yell
China.
at my people, and I'm like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Stop drinking so much and get
You have
back
the
to
right to
work,
condemn.
huh?
Yeah, it's funny with games from China is how I feel. Like I feel like I see the same titles in and out constantly with no release window. Black
Hmm.
Myth Wukong is one that I remember originally being kind of excited when I saw it. I would say for me, the thunder being stolen is less from Elden Ring and more of like what we saw. Um, it,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
it
I
just didn't
wasn't too
look.
impressed, but
It looked like
yeah,
the player for the demo was hesitant to press a button. I was like, I don't think I saw you attack more than once. I saw you deflect. That looked
that's
cool,
true.
but I didn't feel like I saw any real, like it was in game, but I didn't see game play. So it was, I
Yeah, it
don't
was like
know.
a
It was
boss
like,
demonstration, if anything. But yeah,
yeah,
you're right that the first trailer that blew everyone's minds, there was a lot of like back and forth fighting, and that I think that was what excited me the most. You
yes,
know. So
yes.
yeah, you're right. Yeah, I think you nailed it right there.
Afterwards, Gene, we saw Killing Floor 3. And this one, it just said wish list now. So no release window or date on this, but I really enjoyed Killing Floor 2. Thought it was
Mhm.
a very good time. It came out for free on where I played it, at least. It came out for free on PS Plus, and that was an easy platinum trophy. So I think I put like 20, 30 hours into it. It was
Hmm.
a really good time. And I do recommend Killing Floor. Like of the horde games that have come out, like that was one that my friends and I still talk about as a good time. And so 3, I mean, the trailer is pretty messed up, so kind of excited about that. But
I
what did
actually
you
got
make of
something to say
the
about that.
little
Yeah,
Killing Floor 3 action, sir?
not familiar with the Killing Floor series, but I do have something to say about the violent trailers. And I've seen
Let's hear
some
it.
discourse about like, oh, you know, why are we? This is an international event, and why are we having like Mortal Kombat 1, which we'll talk about more later, like, you know, entrails and intestines and everything like that. And you know, like the Killing Floor 3 trailer did gross me out, you know,
Yeah,
and
pretty
so I
nasty.
get that. And I'm almost there in terms of like, you know, it's a little weird that this is like our grand mainstream stage, and like you know, like so much of our marquee products are about blood and guts and violence. But then when I think about it, fuck it, like that's our culture, that is what's popular in our industry. That is the trend. It's been the trend since for decades. That's the culture. So you either have to like live with it or not. Like I like that it's not, there's no respectability in terms of like, oh, we have to be prim and proper like the Oscars, and then like, oh, this game is about World War II and about blah blah blah. It's like, no, this game is about fucking other people up. That's about it. So like I like that that's our culture. I've kind of come around to like, what, we should just let things be, and like I'm fine letting Mortal Kombat 1 be in our Oscars. That's
See,
cool.
I've never heard that before, and that's so interesting to me because I think of some of the most popular shows. I think of like Game of Thrones, right, where you name a heinous crime that could be performed, and it's been done in that show, right?
Yeah, there's incest and pedophilia, and then it's like the most Emmy awarding winning show ever, or whatever. It's like whatever.
I think of Walking Dead. Just I know they're zombies, but there are guts and visceral detail in their teeth as they like take
gross.
bites of flesh. I'm like, it's a gross show, man, but like it's one of the most popular ever. Like I just feel maturity and grit and dark universes always sell. Like I try to tell people, one of the reasons I really like Attack on Titan is it just doesn't deal with any of the fan service that anime is constantly fighting against. Like I feel every creator thinks like, oh, that's the way you get to the top, right? You put fan service in it. Like it's a way to get recognized maybe, but like the top shows typically just leave that to the wayside.
Yeah, and when Attack on Titan is like, oh no, our naked women, you will see their muscles like under their skin. No,
and they're gonna rip humans in half. Like so, I love the unapologetically violent nature of video games. I look at Fallout as a beautiful example of that. It's like killing the bloody mess perk.
The eyeballs everywhere. Come on, man.
Come on now, like it makes it's fun. It's fun. I'm surprised people are really looking into it that deep. I mean, I feel bad for the artists.
It's the smallest discourse from like your typical people that might say that. So
yeah, I feel bad for the artists. Like it's something like I've considered we're putting bloody stuff in my game right now, and I was checking out my artists to make sure like what are you referencing, because like I know for Mortal Kombat when they were doing the fatalities for the last game, they were like, oh, they looked at real dead bodies, they looked at like real deaths, like that was the report. And it's like I made sure my artists, I was like, don't look at real dead people and shit like that, like we don't want that. So
yeah, don't traumatize yourself if you don't want to be. As long as people aren't being traumatized against their will, then I'm fine with it.
Right, if it's their choice and they're like okay with it, it's like all right, like
cool.
If
they're totally down with that culture and they want to deal with it, then let's go for it.
Yeah, but that's where my head goes when I see that trailer of like the monsters getting cut right up the middle. I'm like, someone had to do that.
Yeah.
in very close up detail.
I mean, it's gross too. I'll give them that. So whatever.
Xbox was a pretty steady presence throughout this entire showcase, so we'll be talking a lot about them. Age of Empires 4 is available on consoles now. So this has been long reported. It had also been leaked, and now it's finally here. I like that they shadow dropped this one. I did do a review for Age of Empires 4, and I thought it was a pretty addicting RTS, but I have not tried the console versions yet. But Gene, are you excited for Age 4 to make its way to consoles?
I'll check it out. I've never been, I've been on the ground floor for so many different franchises, but at least in terms of RTS, that has been a complete knowledge gap for me. Like I haven't really, I play XCOM, and I played Gears Tactics, but and Mario, the Mario
Rabbids, yes,
Mario Rabbids, hell yeah,
so good.
But besides that, though, I haven't really, and the RTS, Age of Empires, that's like true RTS, so that's a little bit outside my wheelhouse, but I might try it because Baldur's Gate 3 is also outside my wheelhouse too. That's that's not the type of game I like. But if it's good, it's good.
It's a really weirdly good learning tool, which I know we've joked about on Defining Duke for ages. That the Trebuchet trailer for Xbox's Gamecom showcase a couple of years ago was just a fucking disgrace. Like I'm not going to sugarcoat it. So Age of Empires 4 is like, that's the first thing I think of. But when you actually sit down and play it, like there's a lot you can learn from all these different eras of history. Like they put a lot of time into almost making documentaries that set up the mission you're going to go on. So it's a really cool style of game that I've never really seen before. I found myself, and it's funny because Xbox is also publishing exclusively a Civilization style game. Those are the ones I really like try to stay away from because they're that's some addicting shit right there. But
Mm.
like Age 4, like that was one that like I love the settlement building, but I'm awful at RTS. Like that's the thing that is tough. Like the learning curve is like a MOBA. It's just super, super steep. But once you get there, it feels great.
Yeah.
This one was strange. Zack Snyder showed up with Rebel Moon, and we got a new trailer for his movie coming out on Netflix, but he also announced that games are coming out that are connected to the movie universe to expand the universe. He mentioned picking your rebel and going on missions in co-op, and this will be done by Super Evil Megacorp, who I looked into, and at first I got excited because I saw a Ninja Turtles game. I saw TMNT Splintered Fate, and my head mixed it up and I saw just TMNT S and I thought, oh, Shredder's Revenge. I'm like, wait, what? I was like, that's not trivia. I was like, hold on. And I looked at it, I was like, oh, it's a mobile game. And I looked at the other games. So they've done mobile a lot. My guess is this is stuff that's going to filter right into
The
the Netflix library of whatever they're doing with gaming right now. And so I wouldn't expect too much here if you thought Rebel Moon and what Zack Snyder's doing looks cool. But Gene, any thoughts on Rebel Moon? This was gonna be honest, this was a piss break for me.
Yeah, I really like Zack Snyder as an auteur. Obviously he's very corny and edgy, but I like that. He's kind of like Hollywood's Tetsuya Nomura, that's how I view it. Right. Isn't that kind of perfect? It's just like, oh,
it's very fitting. Like he had that energy on stage.
Yeah, he does, and he's like super edgy, and but that he's very talented, and at very least, like he knows how to like frame shots, So I'm pretty excited, and it's nice to see a new IP that's not Star Wars, but that's like Star Wars. That's okay. I love that shit. I would prefer that over like our 7 Star Wars show. I don't mind ripoffs or whatever, That's fucking great. Rip more people off. It's great, So
the best art is steal.
Exactly. So I'm mildly interested in it, mostly because I do have admiration for Snyder as a filmmaker and as a creator. So we'll see. The game, I don't know, whatever.
As a not film buff, my biggest familiarity with Zack Snyder is released the Snyder Cut. That's anytime I hear his name, that's literally where my head goes.
That's interesting. I actually like the Snyder Cut. I thought it was a beautiful movie.
So, really? Okay. Yeah. I mean, I've talking wrong guy, man. Like movies and me, we don't get along well because I don't watch many of them. But I like video games, and one thing I really liked that I saw during this was Crimson Desert, Pearl Abyss. This was like AC Valhalla, but also it was Assassin's Creed. It was Assassin's Creed, and it was Tears of the Kingdom at one moment when you saw these almost like sky platforms.
Yeah, so they sound like they had a spy in Nintendo.
And then they had like Korean Dragon's spy, Dogma in a way.
Dragon's Dogma, totally.
Shadow of the Colossus. I'm like, this game looks incredible. I didn't have a window of release or anything, but this game looked amazing. So did you like what you saw?
Another fucking a Korean game with no window of release, and they've been working on this for a long time. So Pearl Abyss, those are the creators of Dokevi, the game that I mentioned earlier.
So we got two from them.
So they got various projects that they're just fucking cooking and like not releasing, they
were doing this game. Okay, Dokevi. Oh my god, this had that crazy fucking long trailer at. Was it the Game Awards?
The Game Awards, I think, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, because I remember at first I was like, "What is this shit, man?" But then they gradually won me over, and by the end, I was like, "That looked really cool."
It looks pretty interesting. I want to play it. So they have these like super high quality, overproduced games. I made a joke on Twitter that like Koreans like to overproduce our pop culture because like if you look at K-pop music videos, especially the girl groups, like especially you watch all the reaction videos and like the media reaction from every American viewer is like how much money are they pouring into these videos, because like these videos are like at a completely different tier than anything like what a Cardi B or whatever would put out, or Nicki Minaj, so it's really funny to see the Pearl Abyss just really really overproduce this game. I played Black Desert, which is the predecessor. It's an MMO, not a bad game. It's actually a little bit like a Dragon's Dogma, so it's actually fun to see
those are all
them evolve. They have finished games before, which is a which is a great thing to hear. And the game isn't bad. I actually kind of like Black Desert. I just didn't play it that much because it's an MMO. I don't
Yeah,
really
see,
do
that's
MMOs.
they got me. I remember I bought when I first got my gaming PC in like 2012.
Mm-hmm.
Steam sale was happening. I was so excited. I bought Black Desert for like $8,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember like thinking, "Oh, this looks so cool." And I found it was an MMO, and I was out really
Yeah,
fast.
yeah. So I played it a bit, and I was like, okay, I get this, and it's actually fun, but like, it's an MMO. Like, I can't play this right now. So,
Yeah,
you know,
but this is
most
looking
people,
like a more single player type thing. This thing looked really good. So fingers crossed.
that's the
Yeah,
appeal of it. It's like, oh, we get a Black Desert like, but now it's a single player. So it's
yep.
like they're trying to
Reuse
pull
them
folks like us
assets.
in. You know,
We're okay with it.
yeah.
We got a new Payday 3 trailer. This is coming out day one in Game Pass next month. I believe it's September 21st, I want to say. But just an updated look at the game after the game's beta. Did you have a chance to play Payday 3 at all?
No, I haven't played the Payday series at all. That's
Not at
another.
all. Wow.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah.
I hear they're pretty good, but yeah.
Payday 2 was a really good time.
I
And
heard Payday 2 was awesome. So
yeah, COG was big on, or no, COG wasn't big on Payday 3 actually. When he played it, he was like very much on it. It
mm,
felt like it may need a delay. So it looks like they're doubling down here, and it's
mm,
still going to come out in September. So hopefully
cool.
it's a little more polished after the beta. Assassin's Creed Mirage showed up as well. We got a brand new trailer for that. The release date, as we talked about last week, had been moved up to the early part of October. I'm very excited for this one, Gene. I'm very pleased with what Ubisoft is doing with this game, and hopefully it delivers that OG Assassin's Creed vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Are you excited for this one?
I'm extremely excited for this one, and I've gone completely dark on any information. I don't know what's going on. I don't know why Basim is there, but Basim is actually also voiced by my good friend Lee Majdoub, who was Agent Stone in the Sonic the Hedgehog movies. He was Doctor.
Oh.
He was Jim Carrey's sidekick. So
Oh.
really cool to see him, Lebanese guy, taking over the role. He's going to be speaking a lot of Arabic in the game too, which is really interesting here.
Nice.
And I'm just really, really happy to see Assassin's Creed kind of scale things back. And
Yeah.
it honestly, from the gameplay that I have seen, it does look like a sequel to the highly underrated Assassin's Creed Unity, which highly underrated and highly misunderstood because
Yes,
obviously
I
it was
agree.
a fucking awful launch. I played it at launch and like I saw the teeth and the bugs, the
Teeth
teeth
in the
bugs where
eyes.
the eyeballs were just popping up,
Yeah.
and that's all you see is like teeth and eyeballs,
Yeah.
which is horrible. That's enough to turn anyone off the game. I get that, but they patched it, and I feel like the game was a little too next gen for like the PS4 and the Xbox One. And it just didn't quite work. But then if you play it now, man, it might actually be the best Assassin's Creed game. It's got the good
You were speaking my
sandbox,
language.
black box missions. You can really do assassinations any way you want. It's got a really, really strong stealth system, beautiful animation blending in terms of the parkour.
Keep talking.
So
Keep
I think,
talking.
yeah, so I feel like AC Mirage is really, really kind of bringing us back to, hey, let's try this again. Like I think we fucked up on Unity, and like maybe we can actually like make this work. Because to me, AC Unity was the last true original Assassin's Creed game. You know, because after that we got what is it? Origins, right?
Yeah, I think we also got. Did we get Syndicate? We got Syndicate before. No,
We got Syndicate before. Well,
I think
it came out
Syndicate
at the
was
same time.
2015.
Came out at the same time. I think that was. I
We got
think that
Rogue at
was
the same time as
the year
Unity.
where they were trying to fucking release two Assassin's Creed games at the same time, and then everyone's like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like what is this?" You know.
Hold on, AC Syndicate release.
But then, yeah, after that we got
Oh,
AC
Syndicate was after.
Origins.
Yeah,
Syndicate was
was a
after.
year after. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. It was after. That's right. That's right. It was after. I'm sorry. Talking about
You're talking about Rogue. Rogue released alongside Unity.
Rogue was the one that released on
plays
Syndicate.
as
Syndicate was
Templar.
the British twins afterwards. Yes, and
Yeah.
then they scaled Syndicate back. So like the black box missions weren't as open. Like they're just in their own select areas, and there was less stealth going on there. And then they switched over to AC Origins, which was just a Witcher ripoff, which was great. I loved it, you know. But they were clearly trying to just copy the Witcher, you know.
The worst thing that could have happened to that company was AC Unity failing as bad as it did optically, because I think it scared the shit out of them. Because that game was, I remember reviewing it, and I did not. I mean, you can see my review. Obviously, the game was in such a broken state that you would see it breaking very easily in a lot of other reviews. But for me, like the worst I had was falling under the map. But I love that game from day one. Like I was a huge defender of AC Unity.
Hell yeah.
And
AC Unity appreciators here only.
Absolutely, man. Like I just think it was so misunderstood. I get why avoiding it at first, but there was so much underneath the hood that was working way better than it ever had in the entire series. And when you like, I know a lot of people, I think Carrick really liked AC Syndicate, but like when I look at that game, which reminded me more of like, in a bad way, how Assassin's Creed was versus like the tech that was put in. I don't know where the tech for AC Unity went. Like, I feel like with the
Right.
parkour and the
Yeah.
crowds and the mission structure, I'm like, that should have carried over to the next project, right? But it just
Mhm. They got rid
disappeared.
of
Like,
that parkour in Syndicate. That's right.
yeah, like it was just all different. And I remember the big thing they were touting with AC Syndicate was like, oh, we overhauled the combat. It's much better now. And Syndicate just had new animations, but the combat still played identically. Like that was a really weird phase for them with
It
Ubisoft. That was
sucked.
where the burnout,
I
I think,
hated
was
the
setting
fucking
in.
combat in Syndicate. It's like, oh, the combat is punch this guy fucking 40 times in a row, and then
Yeah.
you know that's it.
Yeah. But apparently the Jack the Ripper DLC was really cool. So
I did play that. That was pretty. I mean, I still like Syndicate. I still played the shit out of it. I fucking love Assassin's Creed games. I am the reason why they fucking put it out every year because I bought every single one of them.
I did too.
You know? So
It was like a ritual. It was like that in Call of Duty in high school. It's like you gotta
yeah,
get the new AC, you gotta get the new Call of Duty.
yeah.
I wish my man was here to talk about this one. Tekken 8.
Mm,
COG was wrong for once. So they showed off a new mode called Arcade Quest, and he said they weren't going to do it, but they did it. Release date, January 26, 2024. And I knew COG was starting to feel sick in hindsight now, because when I messaged him about this, I was like, yo, Tekken 8 release date. And he hit me with, yes, sir. No exclamation points, nothing. I was like, why is this man so tame? Like the game he's most excited about just got a release date. He's like, yep, it did. I'm like, something's off here. Now it makes more sense. But bro, I am so excited for this. Coming out a little bit earlier than I thought it was. What do you make of Tekken 8, Gene?
I like uh, this resurgence of the old school, the titans of the fighting game industry coming back, right? Because I feel like the fighting game industry looked at last year's Game Awards nominees, where it was fucking Sifu, Brawlhalla, you know, and that's it, you know. And it's like Sifu's not even a real fighting game. And they're like, you know what? Let us show you what a real fighting game is. Boom, Street Fighter 6. Boom, Mortal Kombat 1. Boom, Tekken fucking 8. That's crazy, you know. So I'm excited. I think Tekken 8 probably looks like the most exciting out of all of them, you know. And I'm not a huge Tekken guy. I fell off after Tekken 4, I think. Yeah. So,
Wow.
but I was really into Tekken like in the early days. You know, me and Cog probably would have been crunching them quarters because I was obsessed with Tekken for all the way up until Tekken Tag 3, and Tekken 4 came out. I was like, okay, I think I might be over this. You know,
Wow.
so I'm excited to go back in because I hear that the series is great. I feel like I've been missing out the whole time. A lot of girls play Tekken. A lot of girls I know play Tekken.
There you go.
So,
There you go,
you know,
man. Get a date.
it's a good way to. I feel like I'm the only single dude in fucking LSM. That's crazy.
I
So.
think Chris is
Oh,
Chris
Chris
not
is
taking?
single. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Chris should
That's
be
right.
single. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds insulting. Chris shouldn't be single. I bet, like, I think he is. I'm pretty sure he is.
I think he is. I think he is. Yeah. I feel like I heard him mention that he's not really looking for anything right now, which, you know.
That matches his spirit. That certainly matches his spirit.
It does. Yeah. Yeah. And I totally get that vibe. I'm kind of in the same boat too. So
there you go.
Yeah. But you know, you always want to plant the seeds of,
right.
of any kind of possible future, right?
You gotta be open to it, right? You gotta be open to finding.
So that's why it's
soulmate.
like maybe I should be better at Tekken to impress the girls. You know?
Yeah. That now you have a reason to pick the game up day one, bro. That's it. Don't impress the woman.
It's an investment for my future. So
it's funny you mentioned that. Out of all the fighting games coming up, that Tekken 8 looks the most impressive, because like to me, I'm going back and forth between this and Mortal Kombat, because like we'll talk about Mortal Kombat when we get to its trailer, but the amount of high detail gore and things they're doing in that game, I'm just like, I'm so enamored with. But Tekken 8, what I love between this and seeing that they were kind of on the same page as Street Fighter 6, we don't know much about this Arcade Quest, but to see that Street Fighter 6 had this sort of create a character, run. What did they call the mode where you'd like run around?
World Tour mode.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
the World Tour mode. To see Arcade Quest like make this chibi character and run around, I kind of like it, because one thing that I think has been missing from these fighting games for so long is the spirit of the mini games. Like I think of, I have it next to me. I think it's Mortal Kombat Armageddon.
Mm.
where they had like the combat kart racer, they had the
Oh, yeah.
Tetris kind of mini games. I know game development's more expensive now, so they got to go more hard and spend more
Mhm.
resources and assets on that stuff before, they got to make the core experience work first.
Mhm.
But I miss that fun nature where like I feel like Evo and its
Mhm.
popularity kind of made every fighting game go like, okay, we're gonna be just really technically sound,
Mhm.
and that's it.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's why I love Smash Ultimate. Because I'm like, you had unlocks, a great story,
Mhm.
party modes, like you just had everything right there. Like
Mhm.
it's like arguably the perfect fighting game in its final form now.
Mhm.
And so to see Arcade Quest, to see World Tour, like I just like the return of this fun, playful energy to the otherwise serious fighting games where like we already know it's going to be a super competitive fighting game, but like have fun outside of that. So I like that they're doing that.
Yeah, Mortal Kombat 11 had like a little third-person
Mm-hmm.
adventure game too. So
Crypt mode, yeah.
and when World Tour mode and Street Fighter 6, it's really nice to see fighting games really try to be a full-featured game again. Not just be a Halo Infinite with just the campaign and the multiplayer or whatever
Yeah.
like that. Just like it's like no, we got Forge, we got all this stuff. So it's like I'll never forget Tekken 3 and the fact that they had a full fucking brawler game like in Tekken
Mm.
mode. I forgot what the game is called, but people who play Tekken 3 will know the PlayStation version
Tekken
especially.
6 did that too. That was where my entry point was. I
Oh,
I was really into Tekken 6 because they had like a 3D. It was like Lars and Elisa, I think, and it's
oh,
like a
that's dope.
3D beat 'em up kind of thing,
See,
like
I
with
didn't even know
levels.
that. Yeah, see,
Right?
I have been missing out on Tekken. That's crazy.
I thought that was the first time they did that. I didn't know they did that before, and so that makes me want. I started with 6, right, and like tag tournament, so I
Mhm.
was late because I was much younger. Like I
Mhm.
first time I played Tekken was in like 6th grade, so like I was like what 10, 11, 12 at
Mhm.
that point. So yeah, like I missed out on all the older Tekken, so I didn't know they were doing that back then. So that makes me interested in something like Tekken 3. So
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
funny you bring it up.
Tekken is the game that killed the arcades for me because once I got Tekken 1 on PlayStation 1, I was like, this is the arcade game. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
know?
you just never had to spend money on it again.
Yeah.
Gene, let's talk Modern Warfare 3. You said you had some exclusive details you were able to drop. And so we learned during the presentation there was open world zombies. They were working with Infinity Ward to make the
Mhm.
story. It's funny you mentioned the approachability of the campaign is one of the details you were able to share some more information on because to me, you also just mentioned Halo Infinite. That's what I was thinking of when he was talking about like the approachability, the
Mhm.
sandbox nature of it all. I was like, oh, this actually sounds really cool. But the
Mhm.
gameplay they showed off at Gamescom opening night live was more of your standard fare Call of Duty, like,
Yeah.
Tango down, the night vision
Mhm.
goggles mission. It's raining out,
Mhm.
characters getting taken down left and right without anyone really noticing.
Mhm.
Anyway, it's coming out November 10th. Gene, hit us with those details, man. Like, what do you got here on Modern Warfare 3 that we don't know?
Yeah, well, it says here that the notes were and that it was written in partnership with Infinity Ward. So their Infinity Ward's narrative director, the narrative director of Call of Duty, was involved with the story of Modern Warfare 3. Makarov is coming back, and he also talked about how the story of Modern Warfare is not going to end with Modern Warfare 3. So it sounds like he basically confirmed Modern Warfare 4,
Mm.
without saying it. Either or maybe it'll continue in some evolution of Warzone eventually that they might be planning on. But the question I asked about their open sandbox gameplay is when you play a mission, is there something that you can completely miss? Because that to me is the mark of a truly open-ended game. Where if you run through enough times and you just there is a complete section of a game that people worked on, fucking crunched on, they worked blood, sweat, and tears, and there's a good chance that nobody will ever fucking see that thing. And then so I was told that one of the directors at Infinity Ward was playing a beach mission, and it was his favorite mission. He was like, "I love this. It's so open ended. I played it 20 times." And then they asked him, "Did you find the cave?" And they're like, "What?" He was like, "What cave?" And I was like, that is exactly what I wanted to hear. The fact that he played it 20 times and he
Wow.
loved it, he loved that mission so much, and he still didn't find that cave. And then so he went back and played it, and he was like, "I fucking love the cave. The cave is now my favorite part. I can't believe it. I can't
Wow.
believe all that was there." You know. So there are story moments in like these caves or various missions. Um, you know how in Spider-Man, Insomniac game Spider-Man, where there's like two different versions of Peter Parker swinging,
Yeah.
and one where he'll be walking and he'll be have a regular tone of voice, and then when he's swinging, he'll be like yelling the same lines
Right.
over again.
Right.
They do that for Modern Warfare 3, except instead of like saying like if you're going stealth, then maybe he'll be like Tango down. But if you're
Mm.
like going loud, then he will have a completely different line of dialogue. So
Wow.
they put that level of thought into Modern Warfare 3. So it's
Huh.
interesting to see the discourse before Modern Warfare 3 was revealed. It was like, oh, it's just going to be Modern Warfare 2 DLC. No, it's not. I think they put more effort into this than they've ever had before in any other
Wow.
campaign. So I'm really I haven't seen any of it though. That's the thing.
Mm.
They told me about this. So I'm really excited to see more about it. I'm excited to learn more about it. I'm excited to play it. I love Call of Duty. I love the Call of Duty series. So I'm just really excited to get back into it finally.
I missed out on the original Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2, like these
Mm,
reboots, and so I don't know any of the story, but what you're saying sounds great because the last Call of Duty campaign I played and loved this game, by the way,
mhm.
was Black Ops Cold War. I thought the story
Yeah,
for that one was amazing. It
yeah,
really
it's a great
reminded
story.
me of why I love the Black Ops 1 and 2 storylines and like the little bit of choices. And of
Hmm.
course, it's from Raven. Like Raven, I think, is the most unsung hero in the games industry in the terms
Hmm.
of quality and just storytelling, especially. Like they do amazing work. And so when it comes to Modern Warfare 3 and that approachability, it reminds me of a mission in Black Ops Cold War where you are in like I think a Russian embassy and it's complete stealth mission. Like you don't pull
Yeah,
out your gun
yeah.
or anything. You just talk to people and you interact with the environment and you kind of choose how you want to
Mhm,
complete the mission without using your gun. It's just I know it's more of like a because like the series is defined by like, oh, it's for casuals, right? And
mhm,
so it's more of a, if you will, hardcore gamer style level. It's not your Michael Bay film level where things are exploding and guns are
mhm.
shooting and bullets are flying everywhere. But if I've always said if they could do more of that, they would pull me back in a heartbeat
Yeah,
because
and the thing with
it'd be
that is that
amazing.
that was a set piece stealth mission, right? Which Call of
Yeah.
Duty has always been good at. So Modern Warfare 1 like perfected like the stealth mission where it's like you are forced into stealth, but and it's a set piece, but it's a thrilling set piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm interested to see now that there's more flexibility in the game, whether they can have that level of like fidelity and detail and cinematic storytelling that will adapt to, and they're promising this that will adapt to the player decisions. You know.
Interesting. Yeah, because that could be incredible, by the way.
Mhm.
Like that could be a big game changer for them and how they do stories. Cause that's what's been missing. Like Halo Infinite isn't my favorite Halo, but I loved how they handled like the approachability of
Mhm.
every open world environment and activity and how you can navigate and what tools you could use. Like that was
Mhm.
the best part of the game, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, playing Starfield kind of makes me want to go back to play Halo Infinite. And also, I hear Halo Infinite's multiplayer is actually really good now. Right now, I think I hear that the community is really happy, and there's a lot of great stuff going on there. So after Starfield, I think I'll have to dip my back in, dip my toes back in. That's what me and Chris have a lot in common is that we just adore the Halo series. Like I think Halo 1 is like still a top 10 favorite game of all time for me. So
I love Halo 1, dude. That's my
yeah,
favorite. Yeah, it's like
I think it's still
I
the
just
best one. So
I agree. I think like
yeah,
yeah, there's a couple like the library level is a stretch,
yeah,
but
it's fine.
yeah, but I think of
I
343
played worse
Guilty
levels
Spark.
since, so whatever.
There's just that stretch of levels. There's I think it's Silent Cartographer, Assault on the Control Room, and 343 Guilty Spark, which to me is like the best 1, 2, 3 punch in first person
Perfect.
shooting. Like it's just
Yeah,
incredible. Like
yeah.
this, you had the Silent Cartographer, which is like the setup. You had the scale that you've really never seen before in Assault
Mhm,
in the Control Room, and then 343 Guilty Sparks. Like this is fucked up. Like it's
mhm.
just the blood's dragged
It's
along
like,
the
oh,
walls. Like
this is a horror game now. All of a
yeah,
sudden,
yeah. It's just dude. That's
yeah.
Bungie was on. They were on crack making that fucking campaign. It's
Dude,
so good.
it was so crazy to like be there and like be scared of the flood. Like we didn't know, we had no
Yes.
idea. It's like finding out what the Matrix was. Like when
Mm.
you're watching the movie. Which is fucked up because someone actually told me what the Matrix was before I saw the movie. So I can never get that back.
Oh man.
I can never get that back. It sucks.
Not
Fucking
as
hate it.
dramatic, but my friend spoiled the this big moment in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness because he was
Mm,
just being a prick. Like he just straight up texted me. I was like, I remember I was working out at the gym, and he just texted me like, I'm not going to say what happens, of course. I don't want to ruin it for
mhm,
other people, but he told me like pretty much this big moment that involved a bunch of heroes
mhm,
and possibly some tragedy. And I was like,
Mm.
I was like, that's so ridiculous that didn't happen. I didn't even get pissed. I went and saw the movie a week later. I was like, I was like, imagine me sitting there with my arms folded in the theater, straight face. Everyone else is freaking out. I'm just like, he fucking spoiled it for me.
You're like, it's happening. It's happening.
Yeah.
Shit.
I
God
was like,
damn
shit,
it.
that was
That
real.
sucks.
Like he actually spoiled it.
Yeah.
I teed off on him afterwards. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you, bro?
Yeah.
All right, we got a couple more games to go through here, or really a lot. Nightingale. Early access begins February 22nd, 2024. I believe one of the original heads of BioWare was behind this game. It's a survival style game, very colonial inspired in its weaponry and outfits, but kind of lost my luster gene with these survival games. So I don't think I'll be all over this one.
Yeah, damn good. I haven't really heard much about the project, but good luck to them. I don't know.
Best of luck to them.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned, February is starting to get a bit crowded. Grand Blue Fantasy Relink has a release date of February 1st, 2024. I think this trailer kind of won me over, man. Like, I wasn't into the first one, but I think the scale of the game, like, at first I thought, this is kind of just like the Tales of series.
Mm-hmm.
I'll wait for the next Tales of game. But no, like, when I started to see the boss fights and the scale of them, I was like, this is way more than that. And so, I know there was a time that Platinum was working on a Grand Blue game. That was my first time I heard about it, and I don't know if it ever made its way to the States. But Grand Blue Fantasy Relink coming out February 1st, 2024. Are you going to be checking it out, sir?
I'll check it out. I've been on a JRPG. Grand Blue again is another blind spot for me. So but I've been on a JRPG tear, just trying out new. I finally fucking play Octopath Traveler.
Man, let's go.
Absolutely loved it. So it's like I've definitely been on a JRPG move, which is again revisiting. Like I think I'm definitely in the mindset to finish Persona 5. Like this is it. I got to do this before I get out of it.
You will not regret it. I should have mentioned that earlier. Like that's my last convincing point. Like you will not regret. You will be like, man, I could have played this. Like you will be like, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah. No, I'll prioritize Persona 5 before Grand Blue or anything else. So
that'd probably be a good choice. I mean, Grand Blue looks good, but I don't know if it's going to be. I don't want to judge a book by its cover. But I don't know if it's going to be as good as Persona 5 Royal.
Yeah.
Then the Hoyoverse came in, took over. We got a Genshin Impact concert announcement, but more importantly, we saw Zenless Zone Zero for the first time, which is described as an urban action RPG, and it looks like it had Persona elements too. There's gameplay out now, and a lot of animals in this world too. It's very
Chinese
interesting.
Furries, right?
Like it's funny. Like Genshin Impact heavily took from Tears of the Kingdom, and so now, or Breath of the Wild, really, and now we're gonna watch Zenless Zone Zero take just unashamedly from Persona. Like I just guarantee that's the new Hoyoverse tactic. Like, we have lots of Genshin bucks. All right, like where can we throw this money now into a genre that we've never done before?
Yeah.
But I think it looks pretty good. Did you like what you saw?
It looks all right. I like the Hoyoverse games. I haven't really played Honkai Star Rail, but I hear good things about it. And I was huge on Genshin Impact for. I was really probably one of the first two reporters to notice Genshin Impact, and I was like, guys, I think this game is going to be something. I think it's going to be popular. And I wrote a story on it, and that story did fucking bonkers for me. It's still one of my most read stories of all time. And so I played the hell out of Genshin Impact up to Nation 3, and I just dipped out because it's like it's kind of like an MMO, It's not really, you're not really playing with other people, but like the cadence of the gameplay is very much MMO like. You still have to do dailies every time. I'm just exhausted, But I do miss when Genshin Impact felt new and interesting, and like it was a really, really magical game. So again, it's free, so give it a shot, man, because it's really, really cool. Just know that it's kind of a grind too. So
remember what we said about Black Desert? We were waiting for the single player component that had Black Desert components.
Give me Genshin Impact single player. Like
exactly.
Offline. Give me Genshin Impact offline. That's fine.
I will take that any single day. It's like
remove all the daily grinding and all that stuff, and like actual like design a game around it. Then like I'm 100% in, because the story is really good. They know how to tell a story. And
that's what I've heard. That's why I'm like saying,
interesting pull of the gacha element. You're not just buying skins just for the look of it. You're buying these characters because like you experience these characters in the story, and the story is making them look as cool as they fucking can, or as sexy as they fucking can. So you're like, I want to be that person. I want that person in my party.
Yeah, dude. I feel that 100% because that's the game that I've wanted to get into. I tried Honkai Star Rail
Mm.
have you played the Legends of Hero Trail series at all?
No, not at all.
Oh, dude, I love that series. And like,
Mm.
I mean, they said in an interview, like, oh, we were really inspired. Oh, Kitty, we're
Mm-hmm.
really inspired by Trails. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it shows like the combat's almost identical to Trails, which is not a bad thing. Like, Trails has some of the best turn based combat in the
Mm-hmm.
entire industry. Just no one really knows it because the series is still kind of unpopular. Um, but yeah, like what Honkai Star Rail's doing, I mean, it's good. Like that one would be worth a try because then
Yeah.
if you like that, then I'm like, well, Gene, I got the single player version for you right over here. But that's like you got to play like 10 games to catch up,
Yeah,
10
that's true.
JRPGs to catch up.
If I'm gonna have to do Colin way of earning my way to that. So we'll see.
You have to. You can't jump
Yeah,
in late to Trails. I hate to
yeah,
tell you, it's
yeah.
I spent all of 2022 just gradually playing the entire Trail series, and I caught up, but it took a full year.
Yeah, it's like
So,
me and Xenoblade Chronicles. It's like, you gotta start from one now, and
mhm.
these are 100 RPGs. So get ready.
We got a new story trailer for Lords of the Fallen that's coming out October 13th. For those who don't remember, this game, I know we mentioned that with Black Myth Wukong, some Souls likes have sort of had the excitement taken away from them, but this is one that's kind of continued to impress me a bit. It just, because we got Elden Ring and there's been a big gap of, for me at least, I haven't played any Souls like at all since
Yeah,
Elden
me
Ring.
too.
That I feel like I'm
Definitely.
refreshed enough where like Lords of the Fallen feels like it's punching above its weight a little bit, not where it's going to give me a FromSoft level experience, but it looks way better than I thought it would be. Do you get those vibes, or is this another one you kind of throw on the list
No,
as
no,
like,
no. I've heard from other reviewers or people who have had hands on time. This game is actually good. I'm just like,
okay,
fuck, man. If Lords of the Fallen is really good,
yeah,
that's
this is
fucked,
fucked.
man. Like, I have no time for this shit. That's crazy. Because I played the first Lords of the Fallen without the right, and
Mhm.
I actually kind of liked it. I liked the very like
It was a charm.
blizzardy like aesthetic of it, and the chunkiness of the combat. I was kind of into. I never finished it, but it's only because it was just kind of boring, But
I
they had
just couldn't
something going
stand
on there,
the
so it's like
movement.
if they learn from that and they just turned out a good game, man, you know,
Yeah.
I'll definitely check it out someday.
It'll be par for the course for this year. There's I'm sure some people were groaning when I said, "Yo, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk isn't just good; it's
Yeah,
incredible." Because they're like, "Oh my god, that sounds great," but I
yeah,
want to play Starfield. I want to play Baldur's Gate 3. Like, there's so many good games coming out sequentially. Like, there's like people
hmm
are relieved when a flop happens now, which is sad to say.
Ooh, Immortals or Atlas Fallen, I guess. Which I'm actually kind of interested. Like, I'm hungry for a 6 out of 10 game, so I might
Oh,
check
you
that out.
are?
Yeah,
It definitely gives you good perspective, I
yeah.
would say. Yeah. Atlas Fallen probably falls into that pocket. If you want a 6 out of 10 game, yeah, go
Oh,
for
did
it.
you play that one?
Yeah, I reviewed it. Yeah. It
Yeah.
was
Okay. Yeah.
the sandboard. The sandboarding and movement was really cool, like in concept, but
hmm
because like think of a I don't want to say. Think of movement in games like Spider-Man and how it's very freeing and you can kind
hmm
of go wherever, whenever. And with Atlas Fallen, because there's so many rules to the movement, like there's invisible walls everywhere. You can't go up on that mountain. Like,
Oh, that's annoying.
yeah, it
Okay.
just stops you. So you're like sandboarding, you air dash 3 times. It's like invisible wall. Or like, no, you don't have that unlocked. I'm
Oh,
just
that
like,
sucks. Okay,
yeah, it
that's like
slows you
worse than
down way too much.
Forspoken, even.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. It's like a slightly better Forspoken in my eyes. And the combat's
Mm,
frustrating, but
mm.
it's a, if you want to kind of do a little palate cleanser, I guess get a like remind yourself what mid is like after so much greatness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's a good game to pick up. What I don't think will be mid, Gene, is Sonic. This is
Mm,
actually you and I when we first talked before you officially joined last day. We were like, "Yo, let's do like a Sonic cast," and
mhm.
we unfortunately never got to it, but we can have a little one right here with Sonic Superstars coming out October 17th. Of course, it's fucking October, and then Sonic Frontiers,
Oh
the
my
Final
god.
Horizon, a free update coming to Sonic Frontiers with new characters, new story missions, new challenges. That's September 28th. Both very excited, Gene. How are you feeling, sir? Is the blue blur back again?
Yeah, it's interesting to see the blue blur just being good now. Sonic Superstars looks amazing. And I love Sonic Frontiers. I adored that game. I actually wrote an article in the Washington Post about, explaining why Sonic fans are so hype on Sonic Frontiers. Because a
It's
lot of
not
the
perfect, but
reviews,
it's
it's not
damn
perfect,
good.
but it's about as good as you can get for a 3D Sonic game
Yeah, I agree.
nowadays, you know. So I was trying to explain to people, I was like, this is why it's hype, because the story recalls like the entire past Sonic games. It controls well. There's a lot of freedom, you know. So I'm really excited to go back to Frontiers. My only problem with Frontiers is that I played it while I was sick.
Mm.
It's hard for me to go back to games that I played like while I was sick. Like,
Bad
not
memories,
I can
kind
go back to games like or before then, because like it reminds me of a time like before then. I can play
of.
games now, you know. But like games that I played while I was sick, it's hard for me to go back to like mentally. So you
Because it was
know,
like an escapism, right? So
it
it was
was
a
it was absolutely so Sonic Frontiers was absolutely an escape, you know, and it
yeah.
was wonderful for what it did. So we'll see. I mean, you know, hopefully I'll get over the trauma.
No,
So
I get that totally. I mean,
right,
like, while
yeah,
I never experienced something like that personally, I have had that feeling of like certain games kind of bring you back in a way. Because I mean, games are an intimate experience, right? So like
hmm
when I'm coping with something, it's like a
hmm
coping mechanism,
dude.
right?
Yeah, even when I go through a bad breakup, for some reason, every time I go through a bad breakup, I go back to the Mortal Kombat series.
I don't know what that says about how you feel about your
I have
ex, sir.
no idea what that says about me, but
Let me
Mortal
just get a
Kombat
couple
9
fatalities off.
like put me through the worst breakup, and it's hard for me to get back to the game because I keep thinking about Kelsey. So shout out to Kelsey.
Shout out to Kelsey.
We're friends now. We're good. So
Hopefully, no one's around when MK1 drops, and you can just enjoy that as a single man. All right, Nexon showed up a couple times here. This is where, you know, I'll do this in rapid fire, Gene, because I feel like it's, you know,
oh yeah,
it'll speak for itself, y'all.
yeah.
It'll
Come on.
speak.
Yeah. What is this? So
The First Descendant has a crossplay open beta from September 19th to the 25th. Under the Waves was shown off. By the time you're listening to this, it'll actually be out soon. It's coming out August 29th. Fort Solace got some type of on-stage promotion. The reviews have been horrible for this game, and they try to make a joke
yeah,
about Troy Baker's asshole. That was like, it was funny watching it because I was like, damn, that didn't land at all. Like, no one in the crowd made a fucking noise. They're like, damn. And then,
yeah. And then Troy tried to elaborate on it, and Jeff was like, "Okay, we got to move on."
yeah, I was like, is he part of the joke or no? Like, was that planned? Because
Yeah.
Jeff just went, all right, wrap it up. And then Expeditions, a Mud Runner game, is coming out 2024, and we'll stop here with the Crew Motorfest. Crew kicking on, man. September 14th. So,
Mhm.
Gene, any thoughts on any of these games here, or butthole jokes that came
No
out
thoughts.
of?
I did see the Kotaku review called Fort Solus. Fort Solus. And
Oh, it took me a sec.
I was like, that's good for Kotaku. Good job, Kotaku. So,
Yeah. Otherwise, this is where, you know, the showcase dips a little bit, but
yeah.
certain game I think picked it back up.
Mm-hmm.
Phantom Liberty, showing off new ways to play vehicle combat, like you could do quick hacks from your vehicle, make a vehicle self-destruct. Talked about revamped police, combat AI got overhauled. There's a new level cap, new story quest, a lot of stuff that's been shown off that I'm talking about right now is a part of a free 2.0 update coming to Cyberpunk. And that's not even including, of course, the Phantom Liberty expansion, which is still on track for the end of September. So, I mean, dude, this is a really convincing trailer to say, like, yo, we're back. And, like, we're
Mm-hmm.
delivering what we've promised and then some. And I
Mm-hmm.
think they are going to probably leave this game behind afterwards based off what they've said, that, like, Phantom Liberty is going to be it. But, like, right now they're kind of posed to leave this in a beautiful spot, like a
Mm-hmm.
final touch here. So what did you think of the new trailer for Phantom Liberty?
I thought it was fantastic, and I'm glad to see CDPR kind of get their legs around, figuring this game out. Cyberpunk for me always felt like CDPR trying to make a Bethesda game and
Yeah,
not really getting what it takes to make a
that's
game
fair.
like
Yeah.
that. You know,
It's
um,
funny. I thought more of like they tried to make more of a Rockstar kind of game with like
yeah, well, that
focusing on
too.
immersion qualities. And I'm like, make
Yeah,
more of an RPG, guys. Like that's what
well,
we're looking for.
Well, I mean that's the issue. Well, like but Bethesda and GTA, and that was the issue with Cyberpunk, is that it didn't really have its own identity because it was just trying to be the open world game, you know, of open world games, and it just really didn't do almost anything that great other than the story, which I loved. And don't get me wrong, like I love Cyberpunk 2077, you know. But that was really the issue for me. So that's why it's like it's nice to see them like learn how to make a game like this that would be reactive to player decisions, player action. Um, finally delivering on the things that I think a lot of people was kind of bamboozled by their earlier promises. And exciting for the story. I'm interested to see where the story goes. And my good friend Susie the Sphere Hunter, the YouTuber, she is actually a character in the game too. So I'm
I
excited
saw
to
that. It's awesome for her.
see her represented and her voice in the game too. Alongside Keanu Reeves. That's awesome.
Very cool. And who's the other gentleman? Very popular actor, Idris Elba. He's also
Yeah, of course,
so, like,
yeah. The
it's really
Knuckles,
cool.
like in Cyberpunk.
I don't know where they get this budget from, man. They get all these famous
Dude, yeah, I don't
voice
know where
actors.
CDPR is getting that money from.
Yeah,
But
like,
fucking,
like, oh wow, this game flopped. Let's get another big actor, and we're bringing back
the
Keanu.
Poland Mafia,
Yeah, money's coming from somewhere. I guess those shareholders got a lot to spend, but
I guess, yeah.
oh my god,
But
dude,
good for them. I'm just kind of happy to see CDPR like doing right again.
I completely
finally.
agree.
So.
I completely agree. What's overwhelming is like I always thought the gameplay part of the Cyberpunk experience was incredible because I thought the level design was really good.
Yeah.
And that made the approachability and the gameplay role playing stand out to me. But it also made the dialogue and lack of role playing there really stand out. Like I have a clip on my channel that I put in my review, I think, but I definitely put it in a video called like The Illusion of Choice, where like this game constantly denies your skill checks. Like, oh, we can't do this. And I'm like, oh, I have a quick hacking skill. Like, let me do this as like a unique solution. They're like, no, you can't do that either. I'm like, why the fuck was it as a dialogue option then? Like, that was the thing that pissed me off so much about Phantom Liberty. And I know it can't do everything, but like if you're gonna put it there, you're kind of taunting me at this point. And so I hope with like the new quests that they're adding to the story, I'm really hoping they maybe add some light alternatives because they already added like layers of new cutscenes and stuff quietly and like the new hot fixes they've done and whatnot. It's been crazy.
The new version of Cyberpunk right now is a fantastic game, and it's closer to that vision that they promised. So
absolutely. Although I've been a defender of it since day one, I think that game is amazing. I love it.
For sure. Yeah.
All right, another flurry of games here. Stormgate got shown off a bit. Xbox is the green studio of the year.
I feel like that's cheating because the Xbox logo is green already.
Yeah, right. It was kind of cheap.
Like, yeah, you are the green company.
It was a little surprising they won, right? They like
it was a little weird, but good for Phil.
Like they named like this company I've never heard of, a very small developer, and then they picked like the one who's owned by a megacorp, and they're like, your global footprint is the least of all of these. I'm like, what
the fuck?
I was like, I don't fucking know if I believe that, guys. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. But we saw The Last Epoch by 11th Hour Games. That's coming out September 7th. And that one had a really cool story behind it. They had like started off with like a Reddit page showing off like that's how they started getting ideas for the game. And so they kind of made it alongside their community. So it's an action RPG, very Diablo inspired. And with Diablo's post-launch content not being very good, like it's probably a good time to be coming out as an action RPG, I feel. We saw Marvel Snap. They rebuilt the entire game for PC. It's out on Steam now. A lot of Game Pass promotions, Armored Core 6 gameplay, Nexon showing off Warhaven, and then Mortal Kombat 1. So in that burst, Gene, anything you'd like to talk about, sir?
I'm just really excited for Mortal Kombat 1. I was watching Maximilian Dude, the fighting game creator, play it, and he was fucking going crazy with the combos. The combos for that game are crazy. Yeah. But I'm not even really, I don't really play Mortal Kombat for like the combat and the technical gameplay like I would with like a Street Fighter 6. Yeah. Which I'm still bad at too. I used to be really, really good at fighting games, to be quite honest. Like I was huge into Virtua Fighter and Street Fighter 3, like the really technical ones. And then now I just can't do it anymore.
What happened to Virtua Fighter, man? Like I feel like
where the fuck is it, man? Come on.
It seems like it's a perfect time to bring it back with all the other fighting games.
Right? Yeah. Come on, Sega. Well, it's all into the Yakuza series right now. Yeah. That's what is going on. That's where all the money went. Yeah. But Mortal Kombat 1, I love the story. I mentioned I played Mortal Kombat 9 earlier. I love the story for that one. I love the story for 10. I love the story for 11. I thought 11 was amazing. I thought it was like Avengers Endgame, but rated X, just like super violent. And like these characters are basically superheroes, Yeah. But they're not being snarky and having like, they're not all trying to be smart or whatever like that. They're just their own characters. That's Mileena. That's Liu Kang. That's Shao Kahn. So I'm all up to date with the story. So as soon as I saw that Mortal Kombat 1 was a reset, I was like, of course it's a reset. That's where the story was going. Did you play 11?
Oh yeah, dude. I
Yeah,
love that one because like 10. I don't know if you agree. Like 10 to me, I wasn't like crazy about
I
it.
wasn't. I wasn't that. 10 was okay. You know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like something about 10 just it didn't have it. And
it
but
didn't
like
have it. No, but 11
11 was
had
amazing.
something there going on. It
Yeah.
was super epic. You know.
Yeah. 9
Uh,
is like arguably my favorite because like
9 is the best one. I wish they
yeah.
would fucking re-release that one
Yeah, just
somehow. You know.
because that's where I fell in love with Kung Lao. Like I've always been a Kung Lao guy, but like
Yeah.
his fatality in that game is some of the most gangster shit I've ever seen. The dude throws the hat on the ground, it turns into a buzzsaw, and he just drags you right through it and hangs you
Mhm.
up in two
Mhm.
halves afterwards. Like I love that game, man. But
Mhm.
yeah, MK11 was also one that I was a big fan of, and I've actually been
I'm just
playing the Aftermath DLC a little bit. At the interviews or the reviews interrupted that, but I want to play that and finish
the
it before
Aftermath
MK11.
DLC is fun, like, and it's great to see a Hawaii resident, what's his name, Carrie, the guy who played the original Shang Tsung in the movie,
Mm,
return to become young Shang Tsung. That was so great to
cool.
see.
Yes,
Uh,
I love that.
and the story that they wrote about it, like he's such a little fucking shit, like young Shang Tsung, and so it's funny, like he's like trying to like trick everybody, and he's lying. I
Mm,
love good liars in video games, like,
yeah,
or
yeah.
like in any stories, and like he's just like the ultimate liar. It's awesome,
Yeah, I almost didn't
Shang Tsung is
recognize him.
one of my favorite characters of all time. I love him.
Yeah, the new trailer looked great. It was. I think this is the one they're going to use to promote the game the most because it was outside of the fatality at the very tail end. It was definitely the
Mhm.
most.
That's true.
I
Yeah.
put it in quotes tame
Mhm.
of the entire. I mean, you still saw like bones breaking and stuff from.
Yeah, yeah, but there wasn't a lot of the fatalities, and you see Sindel and General Shao, obviously Shao Kahn. I'm just so excited to see where to go with the story, and Raiden is just a normal dude.
Yeah, it looks like a amazing time, and the stages look incredible.
They
Like
look
the
incredible.
backdrops.
Oh my god, yeah. I mean, 11 stages were crazy with that blood ocean in that ship. Come on,
Yeah. Oh, I forgot about that one. Yeah, that one was amazing.
Yeah,
I was
Jesus,
thinking of the it looked like a training grounds one. Like you could
yeah.
see like the mountains in the background. It was just like picture perfect what they were doing. It
Yeah,
looks
I
really
mean
cool.
that's what the Mortal Kombat series has always done. Like the fucking Screaming Forest in Mortal Kombat One, or I mean Two.
Mm,
Like the stages, the pit from Mortal Kombat One.
yeah.
Or the original Mortal Kombat One. Like it's always been all about like level design too. So it's
Yeah.
just nice
The
to see that
stage
they're still doing
fatalities. Good
stage
era.
fatalities too. Yeah.
Xbox, like I said, had a pretty steady presence here. We saw Ara History Untold from Oxide Games. It's coming 2024. But we did get some gameplay, even though it wasn't a firm release date. We did just get a window there. And this is the dangerous type of game that I was talking about. Like, this is the type of game that I'll tell the story one more time. Played Civilization 5
Mm,
in, I think I was college, right? All the time in the world. Didn't have a job. And Gene, 18 hours just blinked, gone.
mm,
And I uninstalled. I was like, that's terrifying. I was like, I don't know where my life just went, but I did not pay attention to anything around me. I didn't take care of myself. I just let the game take over completely because I love those management style games. I love
mm.
just overseeing and handling every little thing and getting my political victory on. And so I think now as a young adult, I have more self control. I can handle Aura History Untold, but this game looks dangerous, bro. I'm
Mm,
very excited for it. It looked
mm.
way better than I thought it was going to. Very Civilization inspired though. So are you into those types of games?
I used to be. I used to be really into management games, but I still love the management games in the Yakuza series. So like, I still get that thrill, and I still get reminded of like, it's just nice to see everything just play out the way you plan it to.
Yes.
I can totally see that. So yeah, I might check it out someday.
Yeah, it was a good investment by Xbox. I'm on board for this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's serving the diversity quotient of Game Pass and everything, right? And what they offer.
Let's sprint to the end here because again, it's another burst of like, okay, and then ends with something really good.
Mm-hmm.
We have news on the next season for Diablo 4. It's coming this fall, October 17th. It's called Season of the Blood. There's Dustborn, which is coming early 2024. There's Thank Goodness You're Here, which is arriving 2024. I think those last two games got trailers that didn't really explain the games at all. In particular with Dustborn, the dialogue was awful. But there he was, Sam Lake, Remedy, ready to display Alan Wake 2, which had a phenomenal trailer. When he started talking live action, I'm like, oh man, we're going to end this on a live action trailer.
Mm-hmm.
But the way they mixed it together, like You were saying that it didn't look that scary. I think you were saying it didn't look that scary. I thought Alan Wake 2
No,
looked
Alan
legitimately
Wake
kind
One
of.
isn't that scary. Alan
Oh,
Wake
okay.
Two looks a little scarier for
Yeah,
sure.
Alan
So
Wake 2, like I mean, I'm a bitch when it comes to this stuff. Like Alan Wake 2 to me, I was like, that's
mm,
kind of terrifying to me. Like the kind of psychological horror, like that
yeah,
gets me
yeah,
more than like the creepy monster horror, like something out of
for sure.
Scorn or whatever. But
That's why you
I
got
thought
to
this was a
control,
great
control,
showing.
baby. You got to play Control because Control had that really, really interesting mix of live action and 3D gameplay.
Okay, so this
That
is
that
like
that just
this was new to me, but not to everyone else, kind of.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's why when I saw it, I was like, of course
Mm,
it's live action. And they're gonna mix it in somehow. Like
okay,
it's awesome. And Control does that really well. And like the live action parts become like creepy because they're live action, and they're really telling a different story. And they did that kind of like with the original Max Payne games too. Max Payne 1 and Max Payne 2 for the PC. There was always these creepy TV shows that be playing in the background every time you'd be playing the game, and they would be acting out like with photographs. So it's nice to see Remedy just evolve. Like
yeah,
they are still the same studio that made Max Payne 1 and Max Payne 2. That's what I fucking love about Remedy is that like you see the institutional knowledge like remain there,
yeah,
like people like Bungie isn't the same as it was when we played them like back in
right.
2002 or when I played them back in 2002, 2003 or whatever. But this feels still like the same Remedy and they're just evolving their game like through the decades. It's awesome.
Max Payne 1 is like one like I always think of the original Xbox with that because there was this demo disc that had Max Payne 1 on it with the subway
Mm,
station level.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I
Play
just
that shit over and over again, huh?
over and over and over and
Yeah,
over.
yeah.
Yeah. That's like my one of my core memories of Remedy was like that game. And I think they used Sam Lake's face for Max Payne, funny enough.
They did, yeah. And then Max Payne 1 was my first real dive into PC gaming, other than like the Diablo games, but it was my first real dive into PC gaming because I wanted to do the mods for it. So this was when like the Matrix, again, the Matrix comes back for some reason, but this was when the Matrix was huge. So then like there were the Neo mods, so you can just turn Max into Neo and then just
Mm,
like, you can put the agents into the Max Payne world.
really?
It was
That's
awesome.
awesome.
That was how I discovered the magic of modding. We'll talk about modding more later too, for sure.
Yes, we will.
Yeah,
Actually, that's funny enough. Another Rockstar game I ended up playing, Max Payne 3.
Max Payne 3 fucking rules.
How did that happen? And then how did it just disappear? Like,
I have no fucking Rockstar doesn't want to make games anymore.
I don't get it. I'm
That's
just
what
like,
it is,
they have they have the problem that FromSoft is going to run into because now FromSoft's just showing their flexibility
Yeah,
and everyone wants something from From Software and they can only do so much with the minds that make their games as good as they do, right? And Rockstar
yeah.
is the same problem. Like they make undeniably really good games and now they can only stretch themselves so far because that's
Mhm.
the culture they've created for themselves. So just another game to add to the list of ones that people want to see more of. But we had a good transition setup. Let's not blow it here. Let's get into the Starfield news. We got a lot to talk about when it comes to Starfield. You're right, we're going to talk about mods, but the first thing we're going to get into is just briefly the start menu drama. I felt like here on Defining Duke, it had to be addressed as
Mm.
sort of this burgeoning hot topic in the games industry on how a game developer who had worked on the likes of StarCraft 2 and Diablo and so on and so forth had commented that Starfield start screen was evoked either the sense of a game that was made with hasty shipping deadlines by a passionate team of developers or one that didn't care at all. And a lot of people had a lot to say on this. But then he tried to walk it back and say it was an IQ test, Gene. We're stupid for
Is that
biting
what he
on it.
said?
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Oh, you didn't know? Yeah, that's the best part. This dude
Oh
said
my.
it was an IQ test. And if you believe that I actually thought that meant that that was the quality of the game, then you failed. And I was like, bro. Again, I said this in my video. I'm gonna go back to the welder because I think it's a fucking great point. Like, imagine when I dropped my Fallout 4 review when I was 18 and I was like, you idiots, it was a fucking IQ test and you failed because you thought I thought the game was that good. Dumbasses. How about that? Right? Imagine that. Like, bro, you're a grown ass man having that take. Anyway, Gene,
Yeah.
your thoughts on the start screen drama for Starfield?
I mean, the fact that he did that, he's clearly a fucking troll.
Yeah.
It's you know, I I hated seeing people say like, look at what this original WoW developer said, and it's like you guys are giving him way too much credit. Like
Yeah.
he's been trafficking off of his resume for years and years now. That's like if I I guess I went to I would claim to be an expert of like COVID or whatever like that, and I'm like I work for the Washington Post, so I should know everything, but like, no, uh yeah, Mark Hurd is just a known troll. Like, he's always been an antagonizer. He's always had really, really bad takes. He's pro Gamergate, like, unavowedly. He's like into that shit. Um, I hate to bring up Gamergate, but to
It's your
just
show
saying,
as much as it's mine. Talk about
just
what you want.
like, he's just a troll. He's just that kind of person who likes engagement. And he claimed that he wasn't doing it for money, but now the fact that he was claiming to lying about that is like, who can fucking trust him? Nobody can.
Yeah.
And his own studio was a complete disaster anyway. So, I didn't engage with that discourse because I don't think that he's worth acknowledging. And I think that that's what we all should have done. And it's really too bad that that thing even blew up as the way it did, because again, we should just know that he's a troll and we should just ignore him.
Yeah, Pete Hines even went after him. It was just like,
that sucks that Pete Hines went after him. They're just giving him more oxygen, and like you just gave him more to traffic off of his name. He's like, look, I'm the guy that pissed off Pete Hines of Bethesda. Like,
some people just had
fucking
bad
starve him.
upbringing. Is how I look at it, because it's like that's the worst type of attention you can get online, I feel, but some people disagree.
Some people like, what? Some people are into that shit. Some people,
so.
It's I forgot what it's called, but it's a fetish to be yelled at online. It really is. It really is.
I remember Colin saying that, because like he was saying, like, in our chat server, like, this is like over a year ago, like he teed off on someone. He was just like I feel like these people just want me to. They like that I just shit on them, and
yes.
I'm like,
yes, I do think that there are people out there who just want to be shit on, and they kind of like, maybe not sexually get off on it, but like borderline sexually get off on
they're
it.
validated almost, like,
yeah.
Fuck me up. My Starfield takes suck. Let's go.
Yeah, exactly. So he got the attention he wanted, and that's too bad. That's my take.
Yeah. I feel you. You certainly know more about his backdrop than I. This is the first time I ever heard of him. So it was like who is this?
Yeah. He's been a known troll in the Twitter space for years. He's not worth paying attention to. Don't pay attention to him.
So with that, let's pay attention to other things, shall we, Gene?
Yeah.
Xbox Series X console wraps have been announced, and it begins with a Starfield themed one. It's releasing for $50 on October 18th. This is another one I know COG would have loved to sound off on, because he's been really beating the drum like, you got to do a limited console, missed opportunity. A lot of people think these are just stickers, but we have a write in here from Sean Santarud. Hey, Dukes, what are your thoughts on the Xbox Series X console wraps? It's a neat idea, and they look like a good quality, though I feel they are priced a tad high. It must be surely the signal to the end of the special edition consoles, as you would have thought their biggest game launch in Starfield would have had one, but instead it gets a wrap. What are your thoughts? So, Gene, I guess it's a two-pronged question for you, right? Like, of course, what Sean asked, like, is this the end of special edition consoles? But also, when it comes to the console wraps, what do you make of Xbox's step in this way? Because I looked at it as like twofold. It's like, yeah, we may not get console editions, but you can get a wrap for anything now. Like, now that the template's going to be out there and shared, you can make your own template. And I think there's something to be said about that, because then you can customize your Xbox however you want. But what do you think of these Series X console wraps and how they're starting off with Starfield?
I think it's fine because, D-Brand has been a thing. We're not sponsored by D-Brand, but D-Brand has been a thing for ages, and they've been doing similar things, and they put out a high-quality product, and that seems to be a company that's doing well. So it's nice to see Microsoft be like, you know what, we don't need to give D-Brand all that money. We should just make it ourselves, I'm into it. I don't listen to me, because I'm the guy with 6 Nintendo Switches. And yeah, I have a monster. I have the original one. I have a Monster Edition one, Monster Hunter Edition one, and then I have 2 different color Switch lights, and then I have a Switch OLED, and then a Zelda Switch OLED. So
wow.
So don't take it from me, but like, or maybe take it from me as someone who does waste money on that shit. Like, it's nice. It'd be fucking nice if Nintendo just released like special controllers and sold them separately, instead of fucking letting me buy a whole fucking console. Or like, I can just buy the dock set separately. I didn't need to buy a new Switch OLED. I could have just bought the dock and the controller separately, and I could just left the console, and it'd just be like I just be out $100 as opposed to like 300. So it's nice that Xbox is doing this. If people are disappointed, I guess I get it. But if you don't have an Xbox by now, I don't know, whatever. And were you really looking to spend another $500 on an Xbox? Is that really what you wanted to do with your money?
Maybe. For Starfield,
I
maybe.
would personally rather I need a new PC,
Yeah.
and there's all these great there's Baldur's Gate 3 coming out, but there's also Cyberpunk and Starfield. Like I want to play Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty and Starfield at the best fidelity that I can, and
Yeah.
I do not have the rig for that. So and like it's not going to happen on the Xbox Series X, which is 3-year-old hardware. I
Yeah.
want the best PC, so I would rather spend money on a good PC that would get me, the best possible game experience I can. So I'm interested in it. I think it's cool. I'm not really into wrapping. I like the way the Xbox Series X looks now. I didn't really feel like the Halo Infinite version was kind of cool.
Yeah, it did look
And if
good.
I didn't already have an Xbox version, I guess that would be the version I would get. And to be fair, the Xbox Series S is cheap enough that if they did make a really pretty Starfield version of that one, I would be tempted to get that one.
That's what I'm
You know?
saying, like, especially with Todd like touting the Series S. But I will say this because I'm a big believer in Xbox's more modular approach to things. Like they announced like a new
Mhm.
controller parts store, and they're like you can
Mhm.
replace your parts on your
Love it.
own, and
Love it.
you have the controller customization thing. And I always make fun of the controller army in the Xbox group or ecosystem where like they like mark out about new controllers like it's a brand new fucking game. And I'm like, I don't get you all at all. Like I like you. You'll catch me bending the knee for it's across the room right now next to my Series X running Starfield, but it's the Starfield controller. Like that's the one I bent the knee for. I was like, okay, that's fire. The other one I'm going to bend the knee for is the PlayStation 5 plates for the Spider-Man ones. Those are legit. The
They're
controller looks
clean.
amazing.
They're
Like I
clean.
really like those.
Mhm.
I think this more modular approach of customizing your console for cheaper is probably the best way to go long term. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have to admit, like I love the limited consoles. I have like fond memories of the Nintendo 64 one with the Pikachu with the blue and yellow kind of color scheme. Like that stuff is
Oh, that one's
super
worth a lot of
nostalgic
money.
to me,
Yeah.
right? But I have to say, like this, I'll see how it goes because the thing I'm worried about, Gene, is like here it says made with solid panels and an engineered fabric. Each console is wrap is precision fit and finish for your Xbox. It's designed to perfectly surround your Xbox Series X. The inside of each console wrap consists of a soft silicone print material. Each Series X wrap is fastened by a Velcro enclosure. No tools or adhesives required. I just
Mm.
the old head in me worries about, I'm taking this very hot object, and while
Mhm.
they're leaving the fans wide open, I'm taking this
Mhm.
very hot object
That's me.
and I'm putting it's like me going out like, oh, it's 90 degrees.
Mhm.
Let me put on a coat. Right.
Yeah.
It's like I can do it, but like fuck, it's gonna be hotter now. So I worry about that. And I see you're on the same page as me. That's the one thing
Yeah.
I think of.
Yeah. I don't feel comfortable wrapping it around. The Xbox gets hot enough as it is, and I
Yeah.
don't feel comfortable. I'm sure that it's totally fine. I'm sure that they safety tested and everything like that. It's just like my lizard brain just can't wrap my head around wrapping that shit around my Xbox. That's it.
I'm
That's
pretty
it.
sure they cover the top where I felt the heat coming out of too. So I know there's vents in the back, but I'm like, why are
Mhm.
we like this is why the limited stuff kind of exists so we don't have to block up our system. But
Yeah.
it's as supplies last. So if you're interested in that, there's
Mm,
also a couple of camouflage ones if you want to put your pre-orders in.
that's so generic. Who wants camouflage
Again,
ones?
releasing
But shout out to you
$50
if you do.
October 18th. Sorry, Gene, what's up?
Shout out to you if you want the camouflage ones, but I don't know. They're so ugly. I don't know who would
Yeah.
want them.
There are people out there who like that stuff though. The camo ones for the console wraps,
That's
for the
true. I guess if you're in the
controllers.
military, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's not my first pick for sure, but I think it's
Yeah.
just for the sake of like we have more than one option.
I
It's
do.
like,
I did miss out on, or I still do want a Starfield controller, especially now that I'm playing Starfield. But I do have someone actually sending me a spare version of theirs. So
oh, that's awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
the reason I like the controller is it has a rubber grip on the back that's like really good. Like
Yeah.
it helps. Oh, hold on, we got Gene grabbing something here. Hold
I
up.
have the 20th anniversary controller, and it
Oh,
has
okay, it's
rubber,
got the same one.
it's got the same
Oh,
rubber
okay.
grips. So like functionally, I got the same stuff, and 20th anniversary controller. It looks fucking dope. So
I
that's
didn't know
why I
they did
didn't
that.
really
That's
want the
cool.
Starfield controller, because I was like, this is about as an Xbox controller as I need. But then I love that the fact that the Starfield controller has like all the labeling for like different actions like in the
Yes,
game. It's like,
yes.
okay, that's fucking sick. And I love the Starfield like color, the aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's
I
great.
think Bethesda had a plant in the community with that one because it leaked and people there were suddenly people saying like, "Oh yeah, I think that's from like a China like controller customizer and collector. Like it's not real." And then it's the fucking exact same one. I'm like,
Oh yeah,
someone in there planted fake information to
yeah.
mislead people and think it was fake. They got me with it though. All right. We also have an achievement list to leak here by Insider Gaming. We're not going over any of them, by the way. I was a little disappointed to see that this leaked because I feel like Bethesda's made a pretty concerted effort to protect the story. And I know achievement lists leak all the time, but this is a game that's like a new IP, lots of hype, lots of marketing. No one really knows anything about it. And to leak the achievement list, like I'm not trying to be that guy, but I know Insider Gaming how they get their traffic. Like I get why they did, but I was also like, guys, really? Like this is the cheap one you had to get, like a fucking achievement list for a game
Why?
That has no leaks attached to it at all. Like none. And you had to do the list of achievements because here's the problem. It's not really that the information's there. I love sharing information. It's that now everyone's got to hide from spoilers. Like quest names are thematically driven as they are in any RPG, and you can discern certain details from what's in that list and what the name of the quests are, even if they don't say so-and-so did this and that. There are things that you can start to theorize that you don't want to theorize too soon.
Exactly.
And that's the problem with it. I'm just like, man, like, why'd you guys do this? Why? So
I'm looking through the list right now. Yeah, I won't say anything, but yeah, it's out there.
Yeah, nothing we can throw out there.
Yeah.
What we can talk about, though, a little more comfortably, Starfield EULA has suggested that console mod support and Creation Club are inbound, which I think the latter's a little unsurprising, but console mod support I'm very excited about because we saw the limitations over on PlayStation. We saw how Xbox and its kind of pro modder approach really gave even bigger mods a chance to come to Xbox One. Now with a series console exclusive, I wonder how much headroom there is to pack in mods here and if they can go a little bigger.
Yes.
Now, the problem is because Starfield is such a big game, as we've seen, that I wonder if there will be that space we're hoping for. But my brain goes to the Fallout 4 next gen update. I'm like, okay, it's a very optimistic take, but like, what if with that next gen update, they can increase, again, the headroom for mods over there? So I'm just hoping that with this console mod support, we see a sort of, and Creation Club too, I'll talk more on. We see an evolution of what Bethesda previously did, where like Creation Club with like Skyrim, especially Fallout 4, really. Skyrim, it wasn't too bad, but Fallout 4, it was like, here's weapon skins, here's some packs for stuff you can use in settlements, and no real quests, no new dungeons, none of that stuff. Yeah. And so, pardon me, I'm like losing my voice as we talk. And so it felt very limited. And when you looked at it compared to mods, it felt very cash grabby by Bethesda, even though I know the intention was like, let's support the modders, which I want the modders to get their bag, but they need to make better content to sell to us. So hopefully that's all overhauled. But Gene, you were talking about mod support earlier. So I imagine this is right up your alley, especially you mentioned you don't have a gaming PC. So you can maybe get mod access now for Starfield.
Exactly. I'm so fucking hyped to hear that console mod support might be coming for Starfield. And that might even just address like anything that I might want from PC, right?
Yeah.
Because I adored the mod support for Fallout 4. I was all over that shit when they announced it, and I dove in and I just downloaded as many mods as I can, and it just ensured that I play Fallout 4 for like 400 more hours, you know. Yep. Because you know, like it's Fallout 4's problems are many, and we can spend 5 hours talking about them, but you know, mod support, knowing that I can just replay the game and just get like all these mods loaded up, you know, different backpack mods even like that they have for Fallout 4.
Yep.
And they were gorgeous looking like backpacks that they were never in the game before. I just can't wait. Yeah. So and I even played the ones in Skyrim. There were so many gameplay modifiers. There were new spells that modders created. It was pretty robust mod support for these consoles. And you're right. You're right that they were kind of held back by PlayStation. The fact that PlayStation 3 wouldn't really have that much support for these games. Yeah. You know, I remember I originally played Fallout 4 on PlayStation 4. I was really, really disappointed with the mods there, and that's kind of why I bought an Xbox One, because I actually heard that the mod support for Fallout 4 was better.
Yeah.
So I bought an original Xbox One S for to play with Fallout 4, and then to get that better mod support. And I was completely happy with that purchase. I loved it.
Yeah.
And so the mod support was actually the thing that got me back into the Xbox ecosystem, because I didn't got to buy an Xbox One until like 2018, 2017.
Damn.
I was really,
Man,
really late on the
that's
generation.
awesome. Yeah,
And I
because
was like, it's great that it has mod support, and I can play Gears of War 4. I can play,
Yeah.
like Sunset Overdrive, Rise, like all these other games that I've heard so much about. I finally got to play them, and I had a great time.
Dude, yeah, one of my favorite mods for consoles for Fallout 4 was I forgot what the exact name of it was, but it was like a total visual conversion mod that
Mm-hmm.
like it pretty much put trees and moss. It
Yes.
turned Fallout 4 into like a Call of Duty 4 campaign. Like
Yeah.
everything was just mossed over and full of trees, and it just made the water look different. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing with Starfield, is that I think people, if they get the mod support there, is like, this is the type of support that can drive you into your next 3 playthroughs. Like you can
Yes.
totally do different things, and make no mistake, like you might play Starfield and think like, oh, there's no problems with this, no matter what any critic says, and there's no problems with this. Modders will find something that makes your game better
Yeah.
every single time, and it'll
Yes.
make you want to play the whole game again.
Skyrim had these mods that would change the skyboxes, and they would like put like new stars and fucking galaxies in them. And so that's why like Bethesda games are like so perfect as like stoner games. I don't know if you smoke weed, Matt.
No,
But
I don't, but
yeah,
I totally get what you mean.
dude, there is nothing better than just spark up a joint and just fucking vibe out to a Bethesda game. It is the perfect experience. It's why I love Bethesda games so much. It's because you just smoke up a bowl, turn on Skyrim, and the music is playing. Doom,
Yeah,
doom, doom. It's just like,
hits a
oh
little
my
bit different
god.
now.
Everything feels great. The vibes are great. The
I
music
love
is great.
that.
Like
So
everyone's
good.
feeling a little weird. Like all the NPCs are a little weird. And then the action is like slow motion. Like with the death animation in Skyrim, and obviously VATS and Fallout. It's all trippy, and like some of the quests are kooky. So yeah, mod support, Bethesda games, and weed.
There you go. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the secret to life. For me, when I last did it, was I was watching Clone Wars, and it was like the fucking best episode of my life, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, it was the episode, for those who want to know, it was like the 4th episode in. It was like the one where like all the clone troopers died. I'm just like,
Oh yeah, that's a good episode.
yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
fuck. Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy. I was like, am I high as fuck right now? Or is it like just, am I just like a big fan of Star Wars? That was like the perfect episode to watch after that. But that was last
Dude,
time.
media gets so fun when you're high. I wish I saw Oppenheimer when I was high.
I just have horrible reactions to it. Like
Oh yeah, for sure.
that's the thing. Like that was the one good reaction. I was like, you know what? I can end on a high note. Then I'm going to.
That's good. That happens too. I definitely seen people like not react to it.
I
well,
fucking
so,
tweak
yeah,
out, dude. It's horrible. It's horrible. So it's like, I totally get why other people do it. It's great. When it works, it's great. When it doesn't, though, I've been on the end of that way too many times. I'm like, yeah, I immediately want to be sober, like as soon as humanly possible. So
Yeah. There was one time where I took edibles at my best friend's wedding, and it was way too much. I had never really taken edibles before, so I never really didn't understand the measure. So I took like 50 milligrams of like gummy bears, which is apparently like 20 times, like 10 times more than you should be taking.
yeah.
And then so I was just like completely frozen at the wedding, and I was the best man for her wedding. So like I was just like completely zonked out, and she was just like slapping me. She's like, "Gene, wake the fuck up! We got to take our picture." I was just like, oh, "Okay."
A night to remember.
Yeah.
We have one last bit of news here before we get into the Game Pass pick of the week, and then we're out of here. We're not going to do a final question just so we don't run on way too long here. So, while a lot of the focus has been on Starfield, Xbox is still working to finalize their acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Quote, to address the concerns about the impact of the proposed acquisition on cloud game streaming raised by the UK CMA, we are restructuring the transaction to acquire a narrower set of rights. This includes executing an agreement effective at the closing of our merger that transfers the cloud streaming rights for all current and new Activision Blizzard PC and console games released over the next 15 years to Ubisoft. The rights will be in perpetuity, end quote. This comes from Brad Smith, president at Microsoft. Ubisoft will be licensing the games to a range of cloud streaming and subscription services via Ubisoft Plus lineup. It means that Xbox cannot release ActiBliz games exclusively on Xbox Cloud Gaming or exclusively control the licensing terms of these Activision Blizzard games. So we have a write in here from Jacko. Howdy Dukes. With Xbox/Microsoft restructuring its proposed ABK deal to transfer cloud gaming rights for current and new Activision Blizzard games to Ubisoft, does this force the UK regulators to bend the knee? Cloud was the only real sticking point preventing this deal from going through. So is this now a case closed, done deal? Can Sony even fight against this now that the cloud issue is resolved? Thanks for the amazing shows as always, and the quick shout out to my boys Luke, Matt, Joe, and James in the League of Extraordinary Gamers. Health is wealth. Thanks, Jacko. So let's start there. Gene, we have 2 questions here. The next one's going to come from Daniel Navarro, which says, "What's up, Dukes? I don't know about you guys, but with the news of Microsoft spending the streaming rights to but with the news of Microsoft giving the streaming rights to ABK games to Ubisoft, I'm left wondering why they're spending $69 billion on ABK. They say this deal was to accelerate their 10-year strategy to get mobile users with cloud and making a store. How is this possible if they don't own the rights to accelerate? Love the show and keep up the good work, guys." So again, 2-pronged question here. Does this move things towards the finish line? Does it not? And then why would Xbox do this if they're trying to accelerate their plans? What do they gain now from ABK if they don't have the exclusive streaming rights? Gene, your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I think it does address the concerns. It sounds about right to me. It sounds like exactly what they were, what I feel like they were always going to do. I'm surprised. I'm not even surprised that it's Ubisoft, because I think Xbox and Ubisoft has had a long-term relationship going all the way back to the original Xbox. And I think Phil has been really kind of leveraging those relationships. He's talking recently about how, Bethesda games and Xbox goes back a long way, all the way back to Morrowind, right? And that original release, porting it over to the original Xbox. So I think he's really leveraging the ancient relationships that that Microsoft has always been having. So yeah, I feel like it would. And in terms of accelerating the deal, I never thought of it as accelerating the mobile cloud space. I never heard that. I feel like that every time that he talks about Activision Blizzard being the accelerant for their strategy, it's for Game Pass, right? And for having a good exclusive, strong titles and a powerful family of studios. That I think was the accelerant. So I don't see this as an accelerant. I feel like they could just take it or leave it.
Yeah, it's interesting because I know the focus has been on mobile gaming, and so I think that's the biggest accelerant. I don't view it as maybe the full accelerant to the cloud gaming initiative that people thought it may be. I get it's a bit of a curveball,
yeah.
though. I didn't see this much sacrifice coming, but I think getting Candy Crush is like the big accelerant for them.
That's the accelerant. Yeah, that's the accelerant. Exactly. Yeah. I don't see mobile cloud gaming as a big part of the strategy for Activision Blizzard. I just don't see that. And so which is why everyone was so puzzled by what the CMA was saying, because like they just pulled up some random shit that has nothing to do with these fucking things. Nobody's fucking playing Call of Duty on the cloud. No one. You need zero latency for a game like that. That is a twitchy game, Yeah. No one's gonna be fucking playing on the cloud. So I just don't think that this really has anything to do with their larger strategy whatsoever. They're just trying to get it through just so they can get Activision Blizzard. So.
And I view it maybe because of this news less as a accelerant, more as a stabilizer. The 4 games a year plan that we just talked about at the top of the show, like that's something that they promised a while ago, and now they're saying it's a plan. It's like that's an easy plan to make maybe if you've got 2 major publishers under your belt. Like you can hit that and then some. Like we already know should be Hellblade next year. We have Aura History Untold, Obsidian's Avowed, and I'm probably forgetting one, but like they're kind of, if I remember correctly, like Towerborn I think was the other. Like they're kind of squared away to launch more games than 4 next year. So having Activision Blizzard in the fold, it may be even more than that. Like it's going to be more of a stabilizer. So definitely a surprise. I found Ubisoft to be a surprise. Like that was not what I was expecting.
I'm a little surprised.
Yeah. But is it a case closed here? I mean, this seems like a pretty aggressive deal to get or move to get it over the finish line. I mean, we have until October, and it shows how much hype Starfield's gained, because like this hasn't been in the conversation for a while when it was just previously dominating completely. But
all eyes on Starfield right now. That Starfield is the icon of the strategy. Yeah.
It's good for them because they can incidentally have a 1-2 punch if they time this right, if they're able to time it right, I should say. But we'll see how the CMA responds, but definitely a big move by Xbox. And I think this should be enough. I think 15 years, that's enough for the as they put it, the nascent cloud market. to evolve and grow and develop and become whatever it's going to be without Xbox having any involvement in the UK sphere of it all. So this is a good way, I think, to concede while letting it grow and develop in fairness, because Xbox is like, we got Xbox Cloud Gaming with every other fucking exclusive under our belt. Like, as long as they don't have to concede those. So they give up the Activision Blizzard names.
But yeah, I just don't think it's
yeah.
I think it'll be fine. So
yeah. I still think they're lead of the pack with that stuff. So they're okay.
Yeah.
So Gene, that's it. That's the news for Defining Duke, and we have just the Game Pass pick of the week. And then we're out of here, sir. Halo Infinite is my selection. Surprise, surprise. The Dukes, who have beat up for so long on Halo Infinite, are now here, as we said, when they deserve it to pick it back up. Cole Helgerson writes in, hey, Super Meat Bros, I wanted to write in and talk about Halo Infinite's latest resurgence and positive sentiment among the Halo community. It seems as though the community is really happy about where the game is currently. The Steam player base reflects that as it has had 2 straight months of increased numbers. Have you guys checked out the game lately? And what do you think of Halo Infinite if it needs to do what it needs to do to keep up the momentum? Thanks, and have a just pre-ordered the Starfield premium upgrade kind of day. Thank you, Cole, for writing in. Yeah, let's talk a bit about Halo, shall we, to wrap things up? Because
on a good note.
Absolutely, because Halo is a game that Infinite, we always said, like, the framework's there, the support was inexcusable, but we always said it could have its Master Chief Collection moment. Now, I feel like it has yet to have that in the zeitgeist. Like, Master Chief Collection's widely celebrated, widely regarded, still played a ton. But when you looked at the total API that was collected over on the Halo subreddit, this is pushing like a combined almost 30,000 players each day, which is really good. Those are numbers that you want to see. I mean, granted, you want to see that individually on Steam, maybe, but I think over time that can happen. But yeah, they've added a ton of maps. They've added like Infection back. They've added a ton of new modes. Like Valhalla is back in the game, like the classic Halo 3 map that's back. They're doing it's exactly as we predicted. Like when Forge came, everything started rolling. It was just a domino effect. Everything started rolling.
Should have done it in the beginning, man.
Yep. It really should have, because that was the management issue there, right? It should have been that first and then co-op. Like, I hate to say it. I know I'm right there with you all.
You're right. You're right. They really should have prioritized it first over co-op. I get that co-op is like, like a staple of Halo. I was there. I love co-op, but come on.
It's got to be Forge, because that's exactly what happened. They got Forge in, and like they've just been pounding away with content. And so, it
was Bonnie's promise of co-op that fucked them over. And they're like, no, I guess now we got to do this because it's such a bad PR move. And it's like, you kind of don't, but then you put yourselves in that fucking situation, though, man.
It's frustrating, man. Exactly. Like we've gone on, about how much 343 really messed this up, but I thought because of that gameplay framework, it wasn't beyond redemption. And I'm happy to say, when I hopped into Halo Infinite, like, it was always a fun game. This was no different. But to know I was going to see a different rotation of maps, to know a different rotation of modes, the progressions there, you can pick up battle passes whenever you want. Like, it's like, hell yeah. Like, this is what we've been looking for. Like the layered progressions, like the 2-tier progressions, like it's all there. Like, this is it. This is the framework. Now you just got to pour it on. And that's what they started to do here with season 4. So I recommend to y'all, like, a lot of people have been asking, like, hey, I'm waiting for Starfield. I need something kind of quick to pick up and play, kill some time. I don't want to play a big game right now because I'm going to be immersed in a big game. This is probably it. Like, I'm not even kidding. Now's a good time. I don't know if it'll sustain the player count over Starfield, but this is a good time just to check out Halo Infinite and see what it's been up to. I know it's free to play, so it's kind of a cheap Game Pass pick of the week, but if you've been avoiding it with the multiplayer being a little complete, you can't. I beat the campaign. I thought it was going to be super long with how Xbox gave it to us a month early. That was like the weirdest thing. I was like, oh shit, this must be a huge campaign. It took me like 10 hours to beat. Like, it was really fucking quick. So if you guys are looking for a quick thing to beat too, like, Halo Infinite is that, but like, I'm really just trying to put some love on 343's name here with Halo Infinite. Like, they've done a really good job supporting it here, and season 4 is shaping up to be their best one yet, I think. And so with that, Gene, any thoughts on Halo Infinite, or shall we start wrapping this up?
Yeah, I mean, I always have a Halo Infinite installed in both my Xboxes, the Series S.
Same, I never uninstalled it, never gave up.
And Series X, yeah, I never uninstalled it because I've always been a firm believer that it'll come through eventually. It sucks that we gotta wait for it, but we've already been through all that, so it's just nice to finally see 343 once again get their shit together, just like what they did with the Master Chief Collection. But again, it's that guy that spearheaded the Master Chief Collection product. Now he's the studio head. I'm forgetting his
Pierre
name.
Hins. Yep.
Pierre Haynes. Yeah, yeah. He pulled that shit together, and is it happening again with Halo Infinite? Maybe.
It's possible.
He might have been the secret weapon this whole time, man.
Possible.
And it's just really too bad that it's taking this long, but it's nice to see big streamers like Shroud, and Nick Uber play it again.
Oh, cool.
People are excited about the game. People are seeing how fun it is, how fun it always was, to be quite honest. But now, there's just more content. The Forge is interesting. You're right. Forge needed to be there from day one. It's really too. I can't believe that they didn't think about the community aspect of this, especially Microsoft, man. Like with Minecraft, with all the learnings from Minecraft.
Right there,
I don't like it's right. Like learn from Minecraft, guys.
Yeah.
That's why it's interesting to see Bungie just shutting down like The Last of Us multiplayer. And it's like I do think that the Xbox studios do need to be kind of talking to each other and learning from each other. So there's a good level of consistency across the games.
Totally agree.
Learn from Sea of Thieves. Look at what they did. Learn from fucking Grounded.
That's a perfect example. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sea of Thieves, especially, just like a sleeping giant, really. Like
it is.
so well.
It's still massive. No one just talks about it because it's just always there.
Yeah. Straight up.
I do have a Game Pass recommendation because as all Xbox players are just waiting for Baldur's Gate 3 to come whenever. If you're interested in that type of game, I highly recommend just going back to the backwards compatibility on Game Pass and play Dragon Age Origins.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Original BioWare. And hey, BioWare just laid off 50 people today, Wednesday. So it sucks to hear, especially after the success of Baldur's Gate 3, obviously developed by Larian Studios, but they are the original Baldur's Gate studio. So it's just really tragic to see BioWare in this state right now. But if you want to go back to the glory days of BioWare, Dragon Age Origins still holds up pretty well, and it offers the same kind of like very reactive story gameplay that you would find in Baldur's. As soon as you boot up Baldur's Gate 3, I was like, this reminds me of Dragon's Age Origins.
That's how I felt, dude. I fucking love Dragon Age Origins. It's like a top 10 game for me. Like so good. Like you see that start menu, you're like, oh yeah, this is gonna be lit.
Hell yeah. So go give it a shot. If you want something to tide you over between Starfield and Baldur's Gate, But hey, Starfield's gonna be out pretty soon, and we're gonna be talking about it next week, right?
Yes, we will. You'll be back, and we'll have hopefully Cog with us. He actually did message and confirm he had pneumonia, so
Fuck. Okay.
Yeah, I know. So hopefully he can make the trip, but it may just be you and I again. But I know Cog. He'll probably push through. Just I don't want to put pressure on him. I'm not saying it to put pressure on him, but knowing him, he will still show up because the craziest moment he's had is showing up, doing a show, and then afterwards he's like, "Man, sorry, I was on my game." I was like, "You were great. What are you talking about?" I wasn't even hyping him up. I was like, "Dude, you were on fire." He's like, "Yeah, I have COVID." Like he's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Wait, you fucking did the show with COVID?" He was like, "Yeah, bro, it's been really bad." I'm like, so this guy's a warrior.
I feel like Cog would get pregnant and give birth, and then like 30 minutes later show up on the stream. Yeah,
100%, like, bro. He's that type of guy.
Dude, you just gave you were the first man to give birth. What the fuck are you doing here?
Gene, I got to thank you again on a personal level. Thank you for saving my ass today. We really didn't have an answer when Cog couldn't make the show. So thank you for being here for the full show and doing it. I know it's a big chunk out of certain games we're playing right now. So I really do appreciate it. But of course, as always, you're more than welcome to come back on. And thank you just for being here and lending us your voice and your expertise.
Yeah. I told you this before off camera, but it's a pleasure to finally talk to you. Again, this is the first time that I am on LSM content with you. And it's a pleasure because one of my first gigs as a games journalist was going out to West Virginia for the Fallout 76 event at that hotel.
That creepy ass hotel.
Yeah, that really, dude, wasn't that fucking hotel weird?
I think it was haunted. I heard people like talking in the lobby afterwards saying like they saw people in the mirrors, and I was like, freaked out when I heard that. I was like, no.
If you've been to this hotel in Fallout 76, then you would know what we're talking about because they recreated it pretty well. But it's like weird red carpet and white like walls and like really old school furniture. Yeah. It definitely felt haunted. And then like in the lobby, there was like this black dude just like singing in front of like all these old white people, and it just made me feel like really uncomfortable. Just like, what the fuck is
very
this?
Old school. Yeah.
But then I saw you, and I was like, oh, like I didn't know anybody. I didn't know fucking anybody in that trip. Period. Because again, this is one of my first gigs as a game
That's huge. Because not to interrupt you, but for me, like I remember we had to take 2 planes to get to West Virginia, and so that had to be intense for you. Because for me, I was like, I've never done anything like this. I had to fly in, travel to like a smaller airport, and get on this like very tiny aircraft that I was like
very small airplane. Yeah, this is very rickety.
I was terrified in that thing where I was like, if I die, I'm dying for Fallout 76, a game I'm not even sure about right now.
And then like I said to myself, I was like, oh shit, that's Mr. Matty Plays, man. That's crazy. And I was really, really shy to say hi because I'm new to the games industry. Nobody knew who the fuck I was, you know?
Dude, so I feel that though. I'm still shy as hell at events. Like Cog's like the guy who inspires me to get up and go talk to someone now because like he talks to anybody at these events, and I'm just like I don't have that social grace that he does. Yeah. I'm like if I know you, I can talk to you easy, but like I'm an awkward conversation otherwise if I don't fucking know you from a hole in the wall. Like that's
exactly yeah. You wouldn't even know who I am, so I'd just be like, hey, I watch you all the time on YouTube, and you're like, okay.
I wish you came and said something. I'm a nice person. Like when I don't know someone, like the worst thing someone ever did to me was I was at E3 2016 and I'm standing online. I think I was waiting to do Fallout 4 VR, and some dude, I don't know who the fuck it was, pulls up with a camera and he's like, Matty Plays, and he like puts it in my face and he's like, what's up, bro? And I was like, hey, I was nice about it. Like, you can find the vlog footage online. I think it was MXR Mods. Like he dapped me up. I didn't know who, because MXR Mods never had his face in his video. So I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Why has he got his camera in my face? He knows me. I don't know him. I was nice about it, but I had no fucking clue. So as long as people don't do that, like anyone could come up and say hi. But it was fate that we'd be brought together here today. So
absolutely. I'm glad that there were finally colleagues and colleagues in arms. That's amazing.
Absolutely, man. It's great to do this, and I'm looking forward to doing it again next week.
Next week, hell yeah, I can't wait.
It's gonna be awesome. Yeah, we're gonna talk about Starfield. For those who are wondering once more, Starfield. We're gonna go live with our episode, Patreon, YouTube, free feeds, everywhere. We're gonna be available right away when the embargo lifts, so you'll hear our thoughts on Starfield, and it's going to be a great episode. Hopefully Cog will be able to make it. We'll keep you posted in probably the Defining Duke Patreon server or the for Discord. But other than that, Gene, thank you once more. And to the audience, thank you so much. We're going to sign out now because my nose is, I'm sure you can hear it. It's like filling up and I can barely breathe. So we're going to wrap this one up. Ladies and gentlemen, if you got this deep, we're going to go with the hashtag DD cold because we got a lot of respiratory issues going on here. So if you got this far, you want to let us know your thoughts in the comment section or on Twitter. Your ad is at Gene Park, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. At Gene Park, at G27 status. Tag us with the hashtag DDCold. Let us know your thoughts down below or on Twitter on the episode. We're looking forward to hearing from you. With that, take excellent care of yourselves, and we will see you next time for episode 139 of Defining Duke and Xbox Podcast. Peace out.
Defining Duke, an Xbox podcast, is a product and trademark of Last Stand Media and Collins Last Stand LLC, and is recorded from the United States of America. The show is conceived by Matthew Mr. Matty Plays Schroeder and me, Colin Moriarty, and is written and produced by Matthew Schroeder. Matty's co-host is Barry Lord Cognito Eversley. Defining Duke's executive producer is Dustin Furman, and the show is edited by associate producer Ben Smith. All of Last Stand's theme music is by Ramon Narvaez. As you know, all of Last Stand Media's shows, including Defining Duke, are fan-funded on Patreon at patreon.com/laststandmedia. The following names are at the producer support level on Patreon, and we're thankful for your kindness and generosity.